Welcome back to another edition of Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. We got a lot to get into, folks. Yes, the Longhorns are done officially at the Combine. We'll talk about the Combine, the winners and losers, how the Longhorns performed there. We'll also get to Texas basketball. Big win to end the regular season over the Jayhawks. We'll talk about them roasting up some Yardbird over the weekend. Also, we got Jerry Jones. Comments, audio from Jerry Jones talking about Dak Prescott. Also, basically complaining about the Dak Prescott contract just a little bit. Derek Carr to the Saints. That's the latest report. Also, the players the Cowboys were looking at, or at least they met with at the NFL Combine. We'll talk about that. And Steve Sarkisian talking with the media on the first day of spring football practice. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll get into that as well. Before we do, let's introduce you to the rest of the crew. He was a second-round pick for the Montreal Expos, but a first-round pick for the Austin Radio Network. He originally committed to the University of Texas, but decided to forego the 40 acres and chase his dream in the cheese. Pippin ain't easy, but for this man, it's a breeze. He is Mike Hardball Harge. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
It feels so good to be back. Let me just tell you that. And yes, there was a lot that went down this weekend on the 40 acres and in Indianapolis. Not too much went down in California, but we'll get into that conversation a little bit later. But he hails from H-Town with the Get Down. He's a lifetime Longhorn and a proud card-carrying member of DBU. Legendary lifetime and now College Football Hall of Fame Longhorn Derek Johnson said he was the best cover corner he had ever seen. He's a former NFL DB that still has that passion for film study, but he's not a fan of white condiments. But he is a fan of you, the listeners. He is my man and yours, Rod Babers.
I appreciate the intro, as always. That's not always any time introducing a real MVP. He's one of the hardest working members of the Aaron family. He's got a hustler spirit, period. We don't know what he's paid. We're damn sure that he's underpaid, though. That's my man, Patrick Davis. How you doing, Patrick?
I'm doing all right.
All right. We got a lot to get into, so you can be a part of the show. You're the most important part of this thing. You're the heartbeat of it. Hit us up on the Specs text line, 512-337-3776. You also can hit us up via Twitter, Hardball Harge at Hardball Harge in the Twitterverse, Patrick at It's Patrick Davis in the Twitterverse. I'm at Rod Babers in the Twitterverse. I think we should start with the NFL Combine, the Longhorns, and how they performed in the NFL Combine. And let's start with Bijan Robinson, who decided that he wanted to actually compete at the NFL Combine. I don't think it was necessary, but I'll give him props because he had a lot more to lose than to gain. But he did show up. He ran a 4.46 40 officially. That was his fastest 40 time. And Harge, that's pretty much all he needed to do. He looked stellar. Right. In all the drills. I mean, that goes without saying. He looked fantastic in all the drills. But for the most part, everybody just needed to see him run a 40 time that was worthy of the athletic prowess that should be first round worthy athletic prowess, and that's what he did. So he didn't hurt himself at all.
No.
I don't know if he helped himself because, like I said, he was already considered to be the consensus top back in the draft. But to go to the Combine and show up at the Combine and at least meet the expectations, that's also a really tough thing to do.
Well, the thing about it, when I was watching this entire thing, and of course watching some of the freaks that were there, because as well as I do, you actually went to the Combine, so you know what it's all about. You have history there and understand the processes. But what I was most impressed with Bijan is how tight everything looked. I mean, the smoothness of his running, the routes that we see it. We see it every day. It's the underwear Olympics. But when you get a chance to really put it on display and you got a chance for everyone that had any thought process that may not have known who Bijan was, first off, where you been? Second off, it gives him an opportunity to really let people know, no, this is real, dog. This is who I am. This, what you see is what you get, and the film did not lie to you. That's the most impressive part for me, because we sat here and talked about it. I don't think he should do it. He probably shouldn't. He's good at where he is. He should just wait till his pro day. Now he's like, I think I showed y'all enough. I'm not even going to get down on pro day. I'll be around to support everybody else, but you seen it all, because my route running was precise. The way I caught the ball, my vertical leap, my 40 on a stumble, still got a sub 4.4. Got a sub 4.5. Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm proud of the way that he did everything this weekend. I'm proud of all the Longhorns, but, of course, Bijan was the marquee player that was there.
Yeah, we talked about pretty much the big guys last week. This, obviously, this show I wanted to devote mostly to Bijan and to Rojo.
Yep.
We hadn't really talked about how they done, and we'll talk about Rojo here in a second. But for Bijan, and he talked about how he's not going to do anything at the pro day. I don't expect him to do anything at the pro day. He doesn't need to. He didn't really need to do much at the combine. The 40 was all he really needed to show, and I agree with you. He looked really, really good. He looked explosive, and he looked really just quick twitchy. If maybe that's the word to describe him, as he looked in all the other drills. But now there's a lot of talk about Bijan and where he's going to go in the draft, solidifying his place. And, I don't even know if it's just the combine or maybe it's because it's a silly season. A lot of discussion, Hards, that your Dallas Cowboys may have a decision to make at 26.
Well, the thing about it is, and I'm glad you brought that up.
There's right now. There's a lot of buzz about that.
Well, there's two things that I was thinking about over the weekend. When obviously we've been knowing about Bijan and what the thought process is, but the biggest thing for me is not only the Dallas Cowboys, because they put the franchise tag on Tony Pollard. He'll be making $10 million this year. Zeke right now is $16 million. So that's a lot of money in the backfield. And if they make the decision to get rid of Zeke, I think that is why what your point is, there's a lot of decisions that need to be made. But the other decision, and we haven't talked about this because we didn't think about it, but number one, I found out today that they're taking trade offers for Derrick Henry in Tennessee. So with that being done, I'm looking at Tennessee now as a team that might come up to get Bijan Robinson.
How old is Derrick Henry?
He's old.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to probably end up having to cut him, though.
Zeke was he was drafted in the same class as Zeke.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's maybe he is. You can argue that he is probably aged a little bit better than Zeke, of course, because Zeke, I think, fell off a cliff. It was a precipitous drop immediately last couple of years. But, man, around that age, that's exactly when most running backs start to decline.
Right.
We've seen his injuries mount up, and if he can't play a full season and is not healthy in the playoffs.
He's a physical runner, too.
Yeah.
That's his style. He wants to be a bruising running back.
And he's one of those guys that gets better in the second half, which means you got to run him a lot.
Ooh, that's not going to be a good trade market. But to Harge's point, though, another team that could be interested in Bijan.
Yeah, this is going to –
I got to go see where
I'll check it out right now.
Drafting.
But that's the whole thing, too. When you start looking around and seeing what backs are now becoming available and who are they going to franchise tag and not franchise tag, I let that guy walk. Yeah, I think a lot of teams that had Bijan on the radar and was thinking that they could sneak into a certain spot, they all saw that in the conversation. It's like anything. Hey, they talking about you over there. They talking about, man, you showed up. I mean, yeah, we expected him to show up. But, again, the nation got a chance to see this. Guys that probably are, looking at every other reason not to watch the Longhorns, not paying attention to them. But then you see this kid come out there and show like we thought he was going to show. Yeah, the conversation. But the biggest part for me, Rod and Patrick, is the running back position. It's not what it once was, but he's the ultimate weapon. You can use him in so many different facets.
Well, not only is it not what it once was, but also it's a deep running back class.
Yeah.
This running back class is pretty damn deep. It's a good running back class. It's a good class to get a good running back in the third or the fourth round.
Right.
And I don't know if that's going to hurt Bijan, but, I think it's certainly not going to help his stock. I think some teams that may be thinking about it who could go, nope. Let's go with a running back in the third or fourth round. Look at Philadelphia. Look at Kansas City. Let's not make that pick. But there will be a team, I'm with you, that'll fall in love with Bijan. That's already in love with Bijan.
It only takes one, right?
It only takes one. There will be one.
Right.
There will be one. We just don't know who that team is.
Correct.
We're just trying to figure out who that team is. Now, if a team in the top 15 is in love with Bijan, that would be, to me, the big surprise. Because I think right now the belief is he's going to drop out of the top 15.
I mean, that could happen because of what you just said, how deep the draft is in the running back position. But, again, it goes back to the best available. I make fun of the Cowboys about it. They would always take the best available person in that slot. If that guy was right there in the front of their minds, they were going to take him. And if he falls to 26, oh, yeah. Oh, all day and twice on Sunday. You know why? Because I'll be watching twice on Sunday. But I'm definitely with you. Somebody's going to jump up there and take him. It's going to be a trade. It's going to be something that has jumped out to a lot of people, and Bijan is that back. He is definitely that back.
No,
he's shown a lot.
He's the guy. Like, if you're going to take if you're going to have a risk. Yeah. No, if you're going to take a chance on a running back that high in the draft, he's the guy. I just think it's – the really interesting question is what team is going to do it and for what reason. Right? Is Philly going to do it because they think a running back like Bijan puts them over the top, and they're not investing long term. They want to win now. He's part of that win now philosophy. Is it a team like Tennessee, like you just said, that wants to start over? Same type of philosophy they've had with Derrick Henry, but they're going to double down with a new age back like Bijan. Is it a Baltimore that decides? Hell, we don't know what Baltimore's doing.
Right.
Is it a complimentary piece for Lamar Jackson, or it's like no, we're moving on from Lamar Jackson. The best friend for a quarterback we're going to bring in, for whoever that young quarterback is a Bijan Robinson.
Titans are number 11.
Yeah, like I said, it's the motive for the team that decides to do it. What's the Cowboys?
Right.
We're moving on from Zeke. Tony Pollard's coming off the injury. We're going to franchise tag him. He's going to be a weapon for us, but we're just uncertain as to how that's going to turn out. He's the insurance policy and our running back for the foreseeable future. We won't make the same mistake we did with Zeke, of course, because he's 26 picked, but at least we can have a running back we can have the best running back in the draft at the 26th pick, and if the draft is all about value, which it is, then you could argue the Cowboys would have the best value, arguably, of any team not drafting a quarterback.
Yeah.
And if the quarterback busts, then they would have a better draft than that team too, because there's a bigger chance or a better chance of a success rate or a hit rate with Bijan in the NFL, honestly, than the quarterbacks.
Yeah, I'm actually going through.
We don't know what the hell's going to happen with the quarterbacks. We know Bijan's going to be there's a good chance if he's in a decent system, he's going to be a damn good player.
And it's ironic because I'm going through this mock draft and I'm looking at needs from each team. Not one of them thus far has said running back.
Oh, yeah.
Not one. I'm talking about even at the bottom. I'm sitting here looking. Not one of their needs.
Not in the first round.
Not in the first round.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Not in the first round.
Yep.
Now, there are teams that have needs at running back, but because of the value of the position, they've devalued as such. Or no team needs a running back in the first round. And, yeah, you could make that argument that because of what the running back position is and how deep it is this year in the draft, there's no reason for a team to draft a non-premium position in the first round. But tight end is a non-premium position. Safety is a non-premium position. And when you have outliers, when you have these force multipliers, these freaks of nature, human cheat codes at those positions, then you could argue, well, the draft, they're worth it. And Bijan, you can make the argument of him, and it's hard to argue against it.
Right.
Because he is that good.
He is that good, and you can get the most out of him. And I like what you said about where are you as far as getting over the top. Is he that guy that you need to get over the top? Right.
Buffalo.
Right. And that's it.
And how dynamic can your offensive coordinator and your coach be to put him in different situations because we know he has really good hands. So you go, all right, even in a world where the running back position is devalued, can we line him up at wide receiver at points?
Yes.
And line him up on the outside and move him around and put him in different scenarios so we can use him on more plays than our playbook would normally use him on. So it becomes a bigger value for us. And, man, in today's world, if I can get a slot wide receiver at running back price and I know I can franchise tag him as a running back, even though he's now a good wide receiver for us as well, well, now financially this makes more sense because now you're getting into the Alvin Kamara era of him not being happy about his pay because he's like, well, I'm getting franchise tagged on. I'm gonna get tagged. I'm trying to get paid in the running back market. But Jimmy Graham had the same thing where he was like, I'm a wide receiver and you're trying to pay me on the tight end market.
Yeah.
You can use Bijan in more ways, and if you're a team that wants to go, well, we don't want to spend a bunch of money on a running back, you can put him in different places and use him and then try and pay him like a running back.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. You can do that with Bijan. Now, he is, like I said, he could be an exception to the rule of not drafting running backs really high, or some teams believe not drafting him in the first round altogether. But it's going to be interesting. The team, I can't wait to see, because I think there are 5 or 6 teams that could justify it. Eagles, Bills. Now, my man Harsh brought up the Titans.
Yep.
One of those teams also. The Cowboys could justify it in the first round, too. Ravens could probably justify it in the first round.
We know the Falcons have talked about it.
Falcons could justify it. 6. Like I said, there's 6, 7 teams that could justify it. And you go, yeah, I see it. I know why they did it.
Yeah.
I get exactly why they did it. So I cannot wait to see during the silly season what rumors come up about what teams are really interested in Bijan Robinson. Like I said, Cowboys are right there in that discussion. Let's talk about Rojo.
Cowboys, baby. I'll take that all day. If they do not get Bijan Robinson, if he's not available or they don't make that move, I'm all about Rojo.
Rojo measured in at 6 foot 219, 32-inch arms. He had 9 5/8-inch hands. He did have a 4.58 40-yard dash with a 1.52 10-yard split. His vertical, 31.5 inches, so it's okay. It's not impressive. Broad jump, 10 foot 2 inches for Rojo. So
that's good right there. The broad jump. Whenever you get into 10s, that's explosiveness.
Yeah. But Rojo, he, at the combine, I think he did what he needs to do. I think he's still probably dealing with the injury from the Senior Bowl too, which was a hand injury, which is probably why he didn't get a bench press or anything. But he didn't do much else. He didn't get into the different 3-cone 20-yard shuttle. I assume pro day, which happens later on this week. For Texas,
the 9th. Yep.
So
Thursday.
So maybe he'll do that pro day. I don't know for sure. I know Bijan's not doing anything at pro day.
He's like, just coming. It's good to see y'all.
He's gonna smile and look good.
Yeah, exactly.
And that'll still make him some money.
That
He's got
works.
$1 million smile. And for Rojo, I've said this before. He's an NFL running back. I just don't know where he's gonna get drafted or if he'll be drafted. I mean, he could drop out of the draft. Some people are like, oh man, he could. I think if he impressed at the combine, he could have been a guy getting drafted early. Now, at the running back position, a devalued position, and him being average to unimpressive at the combine, there's a chance he could drop out of the draft. I still think he makes an NFL roster.
For sure.
I said the same thing about Colin Johnson. I was like, I don't know if he gets drafted because his 40 time was slow, but I know an NFL player when I see it.
Yeah.
That guy's an NFL player.
For sure.
He's only been playing running back for 3 years. So I think that he'll make an NFL roster, especially with the practice squads now being expanded. There's no doubt in my mind Rojo ends up on somebody's roster. I just don't know if he ends up being drafted or not. I think the pro day is going to be big for Rojo. He may end up running the 40 again. He's got nothing to lose. I mean, you ran a 4.58. I assume he can run faster than that.
It's football speed. We've seen him run away from people.
I assume he can run faster than that.
Jerry Rice ran slow as a wide receiver. He's run away from people on the football field. We've seen that happen. And I was thinking about this last night on my drive back from Frisco. How many running backs can really get away from defensive backs anymore? Like, there's guys that are fast, but none of them are in the running back position. There's not a lot of guys that are just flat out having 90-yard runs again. Guys in the defensive backfield are fast. If you're not a wide receiver, you don't need to be that fast. Just make a person miss, get up the sideline. I don't know about this track meet stuff anymore because there are a lot of guys that run fast that aren't good at football. So these guys are good at football. I'm gonna give Rojo his flowers because I've never seen him get run down by anybody when he was in the open field.
I have.
I missed that.
Yeah,
I haven't seen him get caught.
He's run down a couple times. I mean, the K-State game where he fumbles, the guy runs him down.
This year?
Yeah, remember when he fumbled the ball, the guy runs him down from the back.
Yeah, remember? When we're all at house yelling "woof."
Yeah,
when every one of us is at the house yelling
"woof." He broke away, and the
guy.
guy. It's been happening a couple times. Anyway, but my point. I watch a lot of film. My point is, I agree with you about the football speed. My point is, those metrics are what you get drafted on these days. So as I'm saying, some team may decide, he's not worth drafting. I'm going to see if he drops in the draft. And I thought if he impressed at the combine, teams would be like, no, I'm going to take a chance on him before any other team picks him up. Now I don't know if teams have that mentality about Rojo. They figure, he'll drop, because he will. I think he will drop to a team. I think he's going to be fantastic. I'm with you. If I was a Texans fan, I would take Rojo on my team all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. He's fantastic. Honestly, the truth is, I think the best comp that I've got for him, the best comp I got for him is, I think Chris Ogbonnaya is his best comp, strangely enough. Remember Chris Ogbonnaya came out of Texas, and he got drafted in the 7th round. They weren't sure if he was a tailback, a halfback, or fullback. Nobody was sure what the hell he was.
He was a football player.
He was a football player. And in the NFL, it was the same thing. He was really smart. Football IQ was through the roof. Ended up playing, 5, 6 years in the league. And I think he probably left the league, a guy like that, because now he's working for Dell or something like that. So he's one of those guys where he ended up carving out a niche in the league because he was really good at pass pro, and he was great in short yardage, and he was also really good in the pass game as a weapon in the pass game. Rojo is all those things. I think, he was drafted in the 7th round. I think Rojo will get drafted a little bit higher than that. But honestly, all the specs kind of line up too. He was 5'11 3/4. Rojo's 6 foot. Rojo's 219. I think he was like
Rojo looks so much taller than that.
Yeah, he's the combine will shrink you.
Yeah,
trust me. There's a lot of shrinkage happening at the combine.
I'm like, golly.
Rod B can assure you, I shrunk 2 inches at the combine. Lots of shrinkage. But 220, one's 219. Their arm length 32 for Rojo, 31 5/8 for Chris Ogbonnaya. They really are very 4.65 40 for Chris Ogbonnaya. So he's a little slower than Rojo, but I think their skill sets very similar in my opinion.
Yeah. But I'm with you. I'm a big Rojo fan, and I definitely believe that he's going to be a guy that is going to have a lot of success in the league, and I think he'll play for 10 years at least because of his versatility. You talked about it. He's great in pass pro. He will bust somebody's face, short yardage. He leans forward all the time. He's always falling forward. This guy is a football player, and if you need him to do anything else, he'll do that too. We've seen him on punt return. We've seen him on kickoffs. I mean, he's done everything. So I'm excited to see where this kid ends up because his story is going to be one that everybody talks about, how he was coming to Texas as a quarterback, ended up making the move to running back, and then became what plenty have called the biggest team leader on the 40 acres.
That's fair. No, you're right. And that's why I think the upside for Rojo is really high because he's only been playing running back for a while, for like 3 years or so. So I think teams will recognize this guy's got a lot of upside. And if you just watch the film, I think, because I'm with you, you watch the film enough, then you can disregard any shortcomings in the measurables or any of the testing because Rojo is he really is just a hell of a football player, which is also something that is evidenced by his ability to just transition seamlessly from quarterback to running back.
Yeah,
like it was
no
nothing.
doubt.
He was arguably Texas' best running back when he switched.
No doubt.
Like I remember people arguing that like, no, he's a better running back. And it was tough to argue against it at the time. And he was really good as soon as he switched to the position, just a natural runner. And then even when Bijan came on the scene, he was still just a great complementary piece of Bijan. And like I said, I always said he averaged more yards after contact per attempt than Bijan, which is crazy. And he averaged a higher broken tackle rate than Bijan. Also crazy.
Right.
Like he was a really good player. He just didn't have enough snaps because there was a generational back
I was
there.
like, there was a different type of back right next to him.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, you're a good player. I mean, listen, you are Kelly Rowland, but Beyonce's there. It's okay. Kelly Rowland was very talented. She was really good. She could sing. She had her own career. She had a couple of hits. All right.
Yeah, she was hanging out with Nelly.
Yeah, but when Beyonce's there, hey, it's Beyonce's gonna get more to shine. That's just the reality of it. So to me, Rojo's just kind of Kelly Rowland. And listen, I was a big Kelly Rowland fan. All right, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, you were.
Still doing it. She's still doing it. Ain't no doubt.
Well, and I mean, there is the positive of he has less mileage on him too.
Yeah,
that's fair.
So you can say, hey man, we're getting this guy who only has a few years as being a running back, And he, because of Bijan, didn't get the wear and tear on him in college that a lot of these other guys have.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting somebody that we know we can run pretty effectively for the length of his rookie contract.
Yeah. No,
I think he
good
just
point.
needs a running back run early in the second day or early in day 3 of the draft, where people start to go, oh man, and you get 3 or 4 running backs off the board, and it gets people to start looking if they need to take one, if they want to take one now.
Yeah.
If it's a run starts, I wonder if more than one. Jameer Gibbs is the other running back that could
He's
be taken
nice too
in the first round.
And by the way, Tashard Choice coached both of those guys.
Yeah, and Gibbs. It wouldn't surprise me if Gibbs was like Breece Hall or like. There's always there's so many times now that people basically trade up for that first pick on day 2 to get a running back.
Yeah,
because they're like, we don't want the guaranteed contract, but we really want this running back. So that day 2 first pick becomes valuable to try and go get a running back.
I agree with that. Yeah, and but Bijan ain't no day 2 guy. Rojo will be, except Rojo will be there for a while, and I wonder how many. You could be right. A good amount of running backs could be taken in the second round because it's a deep running back class.
Yeah,
and teams may be a little scared of teams taking that running back in the third round. So maybe second round is that. Kind of the running back round of the draft. All right, we'll come back. We'll get into Texas basketball. Big win for Texas basketball over the Kansas Jayhawks over the weekend. We'll get into that, talk about their Big 12 seeding a little bit as well. Also, Texas football with their first day of spring practice. Coach Sark actually addressed the media and its media availability. There's already a controversial comment that has been thrown out there. We'll get into it. We'll talk about that as well. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. It is a Smooth Soul Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn, playing jams that would soothe the tortured soul of sports fans who may have been dealing with their team taking an L over the weekend. Texas baseball fans may be feeling a little down to a couple of L's over the weekend.
Hello.
Harge, I know we're not pressing the panic button yet, but I think we should start trying.
Yeah, I gotta start making
sort
the panic
out.
button.
What the panic button will sound
gotta
like.
put a panic button in production.
And we at least need to have one.
Yeah,
because it's too early to press the panic button. Of course, way too early, but we should have a panic button. Just in when do you press the panic button? What would be a situation that would merit a crisis enough for Texas baseball to press a panic button?
I mean, we can look at it right now. Texas is going to be home, I believe, for either 14 to 17 home games, right? After the home games, when we start conference play.
Okay.
That will be the panic button. That's going to be the level, because just like any other sport, we want to win conference. You just got to win your conference.
Okay.
So I'm going to leave it at that. And then after that first series, that is when you start doing like that. Get that shock treatment. That's when you start making all kinds of noise.
March 24th is Texas Tech. That starts off conference play.
So we're right there.
Okay.
So we got
right there.
So
there's no panic button pressing until midway through conference play? If the worst case scenario is going down.
If the worst case scenario.
Yeah. Okay. So we got a little while to have to at least get the panic button. We got it.
But I'm gonna tell you right now.
April.
Okay.
Let's put it like this. Start saving up your toilet paper.
Oh no.
You got to start looking at it that way, to where it's like, okay, in case of emergency.
Oh no.
We got to start looking to save something.
Oh no. This section says get the purge sound as the panic button when they start the purge. We can't do that because I believe that sets off a sounder. I did that once.
Yeah.
And I did. Yeah. I think we could have got in trouble for that.
Shut down, right?
Well, because it automatically triggers
there was one that was it was similar. No, it was what it was the purge on a commercial used the actual EAS tone.
Okay, well,
so they use the emergency alert system. They use the actual tone or something close enough to it, and so they got in trouble. And then other radio stations were playing stuff like that,
right?
And playing it.
We were playing stuff like that too. Because we did it for Charlie Strong's purge.
Yes,
and I remember playing that a ton.
Yeah,
and then I remember you got everybody the memo
from
the
FCC
memo from corporate you got to stop playing.
So
I
think there's a
what?
siren you can do, but you can't do the tone.
Can't do the
tone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
There's multiple things.
We'll
I'll
let
look
Patrick
into
sort that out.
Yeah,
that's why we was way too much on Patrick's play. There's
just add that one more
FCC
time.
regulations to sort through.
Yeah.
Patrick will handle it.
Yeah.
No, because I remember that though. I remember that time when that was like a bit, and then we had to stop the bit, from a corporate memo, stop the bit. So we'll find a different panic button, but hopefully we won't even need the panic button. Hopefully you never hear the panic button. How about this? When we actually are, if the team continues to struggle, all right, if they don't get above 5, okay, when do you need them to be above 500? That's the question.
By the end of this homestand. I mean, they need to start tomorrow. I mean, good God. Okay. You're playing Sam Houston State tomorrow. You got Mercer on Wednesday, and Mercer's not no slouch. And then you got the Manhattan Jaspers coming in this weekend.
All right.
You start now.
So you're saying by the end of the week.
By the end of this weekend,
should be at 500.
You need to be above 500 for sure.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. We'll let you guys know when we start sorting through panic button sounds, panic sounders for you.
No doubt.
Right now, we're not even worried about it because we don't even need it. We're good. Right there, right, Harge?
We straight. We straight.
You are not.
I'm not.
You don't sound confident.
Well, because we'll get into it because I'm going to talk about this in the Hard Knocks Live because there's a couple things that I want to get into.
All
but yeah, there's a chance right here that Texas, they need to make a run and they need to do it where you gotta understand that guys are getting better. Like, you have to physically see improvement.
Oh, yeah. Okay, no, I'm
And
with
you're at home. You got home cooking for quite a few games, my man. So at that point, you need to make a difference.
Okay.
You need to make a difference.
All right, more Texas baseball conversation coming. Harsh Knock Live coming around 4:30, so you don't want to miss that. My man Harsh is already a little worked up. He's breathing hard over there.
I am.
Panting.
Taking a deep sigh. Deep sigh. Short breath.
Let's talk about Texas basketball. That'll put you in a better mood because Texas basketball, gentlemen, with a dominant win over Kansas at home. I remember saying, Hard, you're right. I remember saying on Friday what I needed to see from Texas was a fast start.
Mm-hmm.
I need to see a team come out with a sense of urgency. I need to see a team come out with intensity, and I need to see a team come out with a lot of energy and effort early on. Whether they're going to win or lose the game, honestly, it's the Big 12.
Right.
That could drop either way. I mean, that's kind of a 50-50. Being at home, I expected them to show up. You're going up against one of the better teams in the country, though, and that was understandable. But this team did. They came out with a lot of urgency and a lot of intensity early on in this matchup. And to me, that was one of the biggest differences. They ended up winning, of course, 75-59, but it was a dominant win by Texas.
Yeah. And it was something, too, because I was going back and forth, flipping, and I was like, wait a minute, this is the team that we've been waiting to see for quite some time. And not only that, it's the amount of time in between possessions, right? Texas was being very, very aggressive. The best part to me was the fact that Tyrese Hunter probably played his best game of the year. He was being very aggressive. He was attacking people. He was 9 of 10 from the free throw line. And what have I been saying? Texas, get to the free throw line. Attack the basket. They are going to foul you. They have to. There's not very many times that you're going to continue to get to the basket and think or keep shooting three-pointers and expect them to let you get there. But if you start attacking them and getting towards the rim, that was the best part for me. Think about it. Texas went 3 of 11 in the first half and 3 of 10 in the second half. What? Stop shooting threes. Quit shooting threes and attack the rim. So what did they do? They attacked the rim, 19 of 24. That's what I've been waiting for all season. And the fact that Dylan Dessou was posterizing people with dunks and getting up and down the floor and playing tenacious on the boards, that was the best part for me. You want to make sure that you are on the boards, and that's exactly what they were.
Yeah, they were. I think they ended up actually making more free throws than Kansas attempted, correct?
Yes. Yes, they shot 15 free throws Kansas did. Texas shot 24, and they made 19 of them. That's what you want. That's how you win.
That's
how you win.
That's being aggressive.
Yes.
Well, and especially when your three-point shot is not falling.
Thank you.
Which it was not falling in that game, and they were getting wide open threes. They were threes they should be taking, but at a certain point you have to go, all right, these are wide open, but look, we're just not hitting them right now. So let's go try to get to the free throw line. And that's what they did. And that's how you start to open things up. And it goes further into what you never allowed Kansas to do was go on that big run.
Right.
You never allowed that, whether it was you having a drought, whether it's just letting them and you losing defensive focus. Every once in a while, you get up to 15 and they get it back to 8. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't a run. It was just, hey, man, they're hitting some more shots right now. They hit some big threes. Grady Dick hit a couple big threes that were really well contested. So you just go, all right, they're gonna make that push again. But they never got to push all the way in. They got that big run to get back into the game. And that's a kind of shutout basketball you have to play. Now you just have to learn how to do that on the road. But it was nice to see them come out against Kansas. We saw Bill Self was beside himself with some of the defensive effort because he would just get mad because he's like, my guys are not rotating well. Texas was able to get to where they wanted to go. You could tell they had a plan against Texas of trying to get threes in the corner. It's a thing Texas has not covered threes in the corner especially well this season. So Kansas was really trying to attack that. Texas was getting out enough on it that the three-point percentage from the corner wasn't great for Kansas either. Yep. So they kind of went away from that as the game went on. But, I mean, you held Grady Dick to a couple of shots.
Yep.
Wilson did what he was going to do. And, I mean, I think they played good defense. You wanted to have Dylan Dessou in there a little bit more, and he just got in foul trouble and just wasn't able to stay on the court. And a lot of those fouls were just kind of questionable, or it's like he'll get a lot of fouls on second possessions where, you know, the rebound just gets tipped out, and now he's trying to really make a big play to stop scoring, and he'll pick up a foul then. So he's got to be able to figure that out. But Brock Cunningham gave some good minutes. Christian Bishop gave good minutes. I've never seen a guy hide from a coach as much as Christian Bishop did after that missed dunk. when he makes the right play and pumps fakes the pass, and then there's just a wide open path, and he's going to do a windmill dunk. And as he does it, I don't know if he rolled his ankle or his knee buckled on him or what, but he isn't able to get the height on it. Misses the dunk, and he's limping back down the court. Rodney Terry is staring a hole through him and not saying anything, just staring at him. Like, what are you doing? This is Kansas. This is a big game for us. I get we're up, but we ain't up 30.
Yeah.
Like, that's a we up 30 play. We are not up 30. And he walks, and Christian Bishop walks all the way around to where Rodney Terry's at center court at the timeout. He walked close to the bench and then around the whole huddle to get where he's going. I'm like, yeah, he is not trying to get anywhere near that right now.
Oh, that is great.
Well, you got to remember, when we talk to them, they just go out there and do what they're supposed to do. I'm going to tell you, Craig, we had 32 points from our bench, and that's the most important part for what we've done. I'll tell you, these kids worked hard all year, and this is what the reward that they got heading into Thursday.
This is great. I don't ever have to pull sound to Rodney Terry ever again.
How's your throat feel, though?
It feels good. I mean, you know, we kept going out here. I get a couple days rest. I gave the guys the day off yesterday, and we're out here ready to go.
I was like, it's like smoking a couple of menthols to sound like right there. No,
We're gonna get Harsh to do a Ricola commercial here in a little bit.
Ricola.
But Coach Terry did a good job for getting the team to respond, man, and end the season on a high note, which is what you need going into the Big 12 tournament. And the Texas, will be the number 2 seed in the Big 12 tournament.
Let me ask you this: when you look at the season as a whole, and now there's still a lot of basketball to be played, and we hope they get to play all the way through. But as this team, the older team, and the results that they got, finishing second, 23-8 on the season, this is a remarkable year compared to what we expected when all the news broke about Chris Beard. For him and his staff to be able to rally these mature kids, because they are mature, they're older than most, for them to come out there and still handle their business, they need to be applauded for that. And I've said this before, I applaud the student section, the Corral, for sticking it out, being a part of it, and enjoying the ride at the Mood. Yeah. They've enjoyed it. They wait. They sleep outside. They've been doing everything to be there because they could have easily fell off. We've seen it happen. But that atmosphere is so unbelievable that they want to be a part of it.
No, and I mean, if people don't know, because you may not even see it during the game on TV as much, there's a second corral
up at the top,
and that was full as well. And that's the thing where you're adding in several hundred more people into a building that are all going to be screaming up top there. It just adds more and more sound into it and just makes it even. It was a great environment this year there.
You're right. I mean, that was the purpose of the Mood, right?
Yeah.
They wanted to make it one of the most, raucous, inhospitable environments in college basketball, and they definitely did that. I mean, it really is. Everybody who's been an analyst or, just a sideline reporter there, they've always talked about how loud it is. We've complained, or we've heard complaints about how loud it is there. There's no question it has been a difference maker. Bad news is you're not playing.
More games.
You're not playing there anymore. You're done.
That was it.
You're done, son.
No,
so
it was.
Now you got to go on the road.
I will tell you, on Saturday, though, there was a definite big game atmosphere the whole time. Like, when you walk into a lot of games on a weekend, there's kind of that rubbing the sleep out of your eye. And like, oh, man, I was going to do yard work, and now I'm going to be – like, that's kind of – everyone in that building had that atmosphere of like, oh, no, Texas needs this win. We are going to come in, like, everyone's there early. Everybody was set up. Got to meet Dickie V. So that was pretty awesome that he came out to call the game there. I mean, it's just huge, big game atmosphere on Saturday, and the Moody Center could support it.
And Dickie V has, said multiple times, I've heard him say it, calling Big 12 games, calling Texas games, he thinks the Big 12 is the most competitive college basketball conference in the last 20 years in college basketball. And this is one of Texas' best teams they've ever had. It's just so coincided with the most competitive conference that college basketball has seen in the last 20 years. So, so I think this team is actually better than we probably have given it credit for. We've been very critical of it, but that's because we're in the bubble. We're looking at this team and we're looking at them from a championship perspective. Like, what do they need to do to make a run to win it all? But it's been remarkable. I'm with you. It's been a really, really impressive run considering the turmoil and considering the trials and tribulations they've had to overcome, and it being one of the toughest conferences that we've ever seen in college basketball. And they're the number 2 seed, and they had a chance to win the whole damn thing. They did have a chance. But, I mean, it's Kansas basketball. You're talking about a blue blood.
You're talking about a blue blood.
The blue is the blue bloods. So.
Could have had a share of it.
If you see that Wilson, if you see Jalen Wilson play, and he is just so coordinated, talented, and he is a big guy. Like, just built of, you're not going to be able to – he can tell you where on the court he wants to go.
Yep.
And so to see all that, and they were able to, keep him in check in game 1, keep him pretty good there. Grady Dick did not have the body to play physical enough. Right now, he'll probably put on some weight this offseason.
He definitely will.
But it's Kansas. And Bill Self is probably the best coach in college basketball right now. Like, Bill Self is just an insanely good coach. So you put all that together to be able to go out and say Texas beat every single team in the best conference in basketball this year. So they lost some, but they beat every single team.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't lose 2 to anybody. So they beat every team in this league. And that's a good statement going forward.
Love it.
It should give you a lot of confidence. I mean, like I said, toughest basketball conference in the country. Now you're going first you got the Big 12 tournament, see how far you can go there, but then you got the big dance where you'll be facing the best of the best.
Hey, and let's be real. You beat Kansas twice in a week. You beat them Saturday and you beat them Saturday. It's going to be hard not to give this Texas team a 1 seed.
Yeah, and the toughest conference in America.
And you're like, hey, man, you're going to give Kansas a 1 seed over us? We beat them twice in 7 days.
Yeah.
Or in 8 days.
That's a good push. That's definitely a good
push.
push.
Disagree with that
that's what I'm saying. So if Kansas makes it, it's Texas-Kansas 1-2 in the Big 12 tournament finale. Texas wins again on the road, wins that rubber match. I just think it's hard. I get Kansas is very good, but if you beat them twice in 8 days, how do they say, no, this team, Kansas is better.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
I'm just saying.
You'd be getting hot at the right time. Oh, Tyrese Hunter's playing well now.
Dylan Mitchell's probably best game in at least 2 months.
Yeah. I agree with that.
It's not like he did a ton, but he was in the right places at the right times and did right on his defensive assignments, which is what you want for him out of the 10-15 minutes he's going to get.
Worst kept secret in college basketball, Sir Jabari Rice won 6th Man of the Year in the Big 12. He's probably, he's in the running to win the national.
He's definitely going to get the national.
Not gonna win
yeah,
it.
I mean, he could be Texas MVP on a team that we're saying could be a 1 seed.
Yeah.
I mean, the second half of the season, he's been the MVP.
We got to get to the all Big 12 teams, too. We didn't get a chance to do that. We'll do that coming up later on in the show. We'll get to the all Big 12. We're going to shake things up a little bit because that's some Steve Sarkisian sound we got to get to that's become very controversial. So we'll do that at top of the 4 o'clock. We'll talk Texas spring football, and we'll bump our NFL discussion for a little bit later on. Okay, so let's do that. On the other side, we'll get to the flex right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn.
Rodney Terry here. No, I'm just messing with you. Mike Harge here for Quick Roofing. Let me ask you a quick question. How often do you think about your roof? I'm sure you thought about it last week when that bad weather came through here and had a bunch of high winds. Why don't you do yourself a favor and have my friends over at Quick Roofing give you a call? Go to quickroofing.com today and contact them. The story of Quick Roofing is very inspiring. Jeff Quick started Quick Roofing with just one roof in 1984.
And now, 39 years later, they've had over 200,000 projects. You can't stay in business that long if you're not taking care of your customers, and you also have to have a great reputation of customer service. Here's another reason why you get to reach out to my friends. You get a free no-obligation inspection. You get a 7-year workmanship warranty. Quick Roofing is fully insured and have all state and local licenses. Quick Roofing doesn't even require any money up front until 100% completion and 100% satisfaction. Quick Roofing also requires that a project manager is on every job site, ensuring that you, the customer, get everything that you were promised. So do yourself a favor and do that today and reach out and get that free inspection. Go to quickroofing.com today. That is quickroofing.com.
Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Smooth Soul Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie. My man Patrick playing jams intended to soothe the tortured soul of sports fans out there whose team may be dealing with an L over the weekend. We're talking a little Texas baseball. That was certainly the case. Also the case for the Mavs. We'll get to the Mavs. We'll get to the Suns. That was a really, really kind of a had a playoff feel to it.
Oh, for
had
sure.
a postseason feel to that matchup. But the Suns came out on top. A lot of drama in that matchup. So we'll talk some NBA coming up a little bit later on the show. The Flex, go to FLXATX.com, FLXATX on all of your social media platforms. They got a great write up there for you, breakdown of all the Austin area schools with alumni at the NFL Combine, at least who were at the NFL Combine. You can go check that out. And also lots of breakdowns about the local area Austin teams in the high school basketball playoffs. And I believe we're done.
We're not done. We are not done.
Really?
Your boys' high school, C.E. Ellison, the Ellison Eagles, have made it to the Final Four in San Antonio. That's right. They will take on Mansfield Summit this Thursday night. Mansfield Summit is 31-5 and 13-3 in district. They beat Chapin out of El Paso 54 to 47. They are coached by Coach Pritchett. And my Ellison Eagles, 37-3, 14-0 in district, beat Fort Bend Marshall, Mo City, baby, Mo City, 66-50. They are coached by Alberto Jones. Let me tell you why this game has so much meaning. Number one, the coach for Summit, Coach Pritchett, graduated from Ellison in 1997. He is now the basketball coach up in Mansfield Summit. The coach for Ellison, Alberto Jones, graduated in 98. They both played together on the high school basketball team at Ellison, and now they are playing to play for a state championship. Ellison Eagles in the house, baby, so they still in there.
Congratulations, Ellison. Are they in the Flex area?
Well, they are today. My man Craig said it was like...
Great story and a great breakdown. Like, when did they become a part of the Flex area?
Hey, we had Harker Heights. It's the same area.
Expanding.
We had some players from Harker Heights, so that's the same.
I'm like, hold up.
Our man Craig Way said, well, I would more consider it the super syntax.
I know, greater.
Greater, that's right. That's right.
I'm like, whoa.
Hey, if you
Ellison.
can get Temple on the Flex team, you better put Ellison in the Flex area.
Wow.
That's what we doing.
Pretty soon we're gonna be in we're gonna be infringing on the DFW area. Like,
Hey,
what's going on there? We're in Waco.
We're gonna be in Gerald. Not Gerald. We're gonna be in Waco.
We're gonna be in Waco and we'll be in Sealy.
Little Elm.
Like, whoa, what's going on? Hey, all Flex, baby. Flex. It's the Flex.
Oh, the Flex. No, it's the Woodlands, not Houston.
It's a Flex area, baby. Like, man, hold up. All right, well, congrats to Ellison.
Yeah, there we go, baby. We got somebody doing something.
We'll come
Let's
back.
do it.
We'll talk Texas spring football. Sar can't even make some simple comments without you guys losing y'all damn mind, and now we got to talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
We'll do that on the other side, right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. It is a Smooth Soul Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie. We play jams that are intended to soothe the tortured soul of sports fans who may be dealing with an L for their team over the weekend. We'll get into a couple of L's that were taken over the weekend by a few teams. We'll get into that coming up a little bit later on. We talk some NBA because the Spurs. What's going on with the Rockets and the Spurs? It's the tank off. And then the Rockets beat the Spurs back-to-back.
Yeah, no, good job, Spurs.
What's going on there?
Round of applause, Spurs.
Stay hot.
Hey, man, you had that 2-game win streak. You were starting to scare me.
That is ridiculous.
You got to go back out there.
Houston just can't get it right.
No,
Houston
what's funny
just can't get it right. That is the city,
and
sports city.
the Spurs had some injuries this weekend.
Oh,
so.
yeah, very convenient.
They had some
very
injuries.
Convenient injuries, yes, for the Spurs. So we'll talk about the Spurs taking an L over the weekend, but also the Mavs, too. That was a really interesting matchup between the Mavs and the Suns. And Ja Morant. Guys, we gotta have a serious discussion about Ja Morant. No, I'm serious. Like, we gotta have
I'm 100% in on that conversation.
An adult conversation about Ja Morant.
I'm 100% in.
Yeah, we're gonna do that in the 6 o'clock. That deserves
As a father.
Which, we got to approach it from a lot of different ways. I'm glad you can. I'm not a father yet, but I'm glad you can come at it from that perspective because I don't. At first, it was almost a joke, and it was seen as something that was, a meme. It was something that was considered, that comical, that Ja Morant was being influenced to try to be some wannabe gangster for some reason. I don't know what that was all about.
Yeah.
And now he's almost, trying to actually live out a real gangster lifestyle for some reason. I have no idea why. Makes no sense. So he flashed a gun on Instagram
live,
which made no sense at all. I don't know. It's fine to carry a gun. This is not a gun
and
right to carry conversation at all.
Exactly.
If you want to carry a gun, fine. But he was flashing it irresponsibly on social media. So we'll get into that. We'll talk about Ja Morant and his demons.
No doubt.
That he's battling. But first, we got to talk about Texas spring football. We'll get into the NFL because there's a lot of NFL news, notes, and nuggets to cover. Derek Carr to the Saints. We'll address that. Jerry Jones speaking out on Dak Prescott. We'll address that as well in the 5 o'clock hour. Also, what players at the NFL Combine won and lost the Combine. The Longhorns, how they performed at the Combine. We'll get back into that. But let's talk some Texas spring football here, gentlemen, because Steve Sarkisian, he did meet with the media. He had a media availability right after spring practice. And, Coach Sark, he talked about a number of topics. We'll have more of this audio tomorrow because we can break it down in detail. So we'll have more of it. But one of the topics that came up, and I don't know if it was unsolicited, but Sark offered up a lot of the information. I got it from, shout out to Noah Gross from KXAN. Mm-hmm. He's where I got the sound from. But here is Steve Sarkisian when he was speaking about Xavier Worthy at spring practice and talking about how happy he was to have Xavier Worthy back. And then he actually revealed this little tidbit. Now, that tracks, right? It makes perfect sense. It lines up with the eye test and what we saw. That was a dramatic drop-off in the productivity of Xavier Worthy, and his drop rate exponentially increased, and he regressed overall. He regressed overall as a player in 2022. And this is a guy that at the beginning of the season I was proclaiming could end up being the best receiver in the Big 12, but definitely one of the best in the country. Obviously he regressed. That was not the case by the end of 2022. So yes, it makes sense. He had a hand injury, and that was one of the main factors in the regression. But the Kim Kardashian, Nicki Minaj, Serena Williams size, Cardi B size, Megan Thee Stallion size but here would be, okay, so why did you keep targeting Xavier Worthy with the broken hand?
And when was the broken hand discovered?
We don't know. We got to go back and do some serious film study and try to figure out when he broke the hand. We don't know.
And let's figure out why you used the word essentially right after you said broken hand.
Right.
Because that makes me think it was not a broken hand, but another hand problem.
Right.
Because he said he was basically playing with a broken hand, essentially.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So it seemed like he had a hand
cast.
injury. A broken hand would seem like you would have to sit him out. So maybe it was something where it was inflammation and it was a bone spur or something like that, or something weird in his hand that had to be taken care of after the season.
So are we thinking that maybe this is Sark really likes X-Men, by the way. He's a big X-Men fan. He brought X-Men in, and that was a great get by Sark to bring him in, and he had a phenomenal freshman year. Could this be Sark trying to make excuses, or at least trying to cover for the regression of X-Men and all of the criticism that X-Men got via social media from others, and saying, hey, all of y'all are wrong. The man was basically playing with a broken hand. NFL, hey, I'm doing air quotes here, NFL scouts. Hey, NFL, to me, this may have been a message to the scouts more than anything. Like, hey, I know everybody's a lot of talk about his regression. He regressed because he had a broken hand. Or what Patrick says is essentially a broken hand. And I would love to know now, like, was it actually a broken hand, or was it essentially a broken hand?
So
what is the difference?
Well, and I mean, like, look, if there's any injury where if any pressure to your hand is going to hurt your hand, but they go, hey, we did x-rays and it's not broken, so we can't really do anything. It just needs to rest to heal. We can't, like, reset it or anything like that. It may be that injury, and he has to say broken hand, because if he comes out and goes, well, if I just give you the technical term of it, you're going to say he's a wimp.
Is a broken finger on a hand a broken hand?
Won't you call it a broken finger?
I don't know. I'm asking.
No, I'm asking. No, that's what I'm saying.
Semantics now. That's what I'm saying.
Like,
I don't know.
I don't think you would technically say it was a
So we're
broken
talking about
hand.
the hand is the hand.
The hand is the hand.
And
there must have been a
was
bone
the left hand
in
or
there.
the right hand? Do we know which hand it was?
Right. That's
No, I'm serious.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
The right hand or the left hand?
I'm gonna take him at his word. Okay, let's just give Coach Sark his propers.
Okay.
I'm gonna say
Might have been
all
Coach
right.
Steven, though.
Yeah.
You can't trust Coach Steven. You can trust Coach Sark.
And that's why
but
I'm
you
going.
can't trust Coach Steven, and this might have been a Coach Steven decision.
This is why I'm going with the Coach Sark on this one. And my biggest point to what you said is, okay, if that's the case, number one, when did it transpire? And number two, and most importantly, why are you designing plays for him if you know that he's injured and the drops are going to happen? Because I never seen him walk off the field shaking his hand. I could be wrong. I never saw him come off the field where he wasn't part of the play calling. If it was something deep, and then he would come back and he'll get right back on the field. And sometimes, too, if you know that this young man is getting destroyed by the media because of the drops, why not give it to someone to break it? I understand what he said. Well, we were trying to protect him for gaming purposes or whatever, so teams didn't try. But you were throwing to him like he was healthy.
He had 99 targets in 2022 at 103 in 2021. And, yeah, he kept throwing to him like he was the number one target. There was no transition to try to transition to other receivers. Now, maybe this was an indictment on the rest of the wide receiver room, an indictment on, the Jay Witt. And
Jay Witt was open.
His lack of trust in Jay Witt, his lack of trust in Casey Kane, lack of trust in the rest of the wide receivers, that X-Man's the only one that can execute these routes at this level. I'm with you. I disagree with that. I think Jay Witt. And this goes to your point all year about underutilization of Jay Witt. Why not start letting Jay Witt open up the route tree a little bit and run some of those routes designed? Because you were designing.
Yes.
You were scheming routes, scheming open X-Man. I get it. He's explosive. But why not put Jay Witt in that role and see if you can scheme him open?
Right.
With some of the same concepts.
And you can use X-Man as a decoy the entire time. you can use it. You could throw some passes to him if you want to keep him on the field. It's not like, and he said we didn't throw him passes in practice and all this other stuff because we wanted him to be ready for the game. It's the most vital part of what he does. He needs his hands to catch the ball. So why would you do that? I understand you're trying to, your gamesmanship for it, but you can also use him as a decoy and open up something for somebody else. That's real interesting that he would choose today. And I went and looked at some of my man's pictures on his Instagram account because he likes to post a lot. Mm-hmm. I never one time saw him with a cast on.
Sark said he was in a cast, but obviously we didn't see it.
No, but I'm saying on his Instagram, he's posting photos. There's no Instagram
I think
on
they're
there.
trying to avoid opponents knowing about it. So that was the reason for the very, the clandestine nature of it, right? They're not disclosing it. So they're trying to avoid opponents, picking on X-Man maybe, because I would go after the hand. I'm a DB. Timmy's got hand injury. Like, okay, good. I'm going after the hand. So I understand why they didn't want to disclose that. I think it gets to the point, though, why did the offense stay so singularly focused, especially with the passing game, on X-Man when the injury happened, and why wasn't there more of a transition? Listen, if you didn't have options, then we wouldn't be having a discussion. But there was a discussion all year long on this very show. Hart's making several points about the underutilization of Jay Witt, and I agreed. We all agreed that JT Sanders should have had more of a role offensively in the passing game. He's such a matchup nightmare. We all agreed that Bijan was underutilized in the passing game. So there are options, because I know you may not have faith in Casey Kane and the deeper third, fourth wide receivers in the wide receiver room, and I get that. But there are options on the offense within your starting lineups or guys you trust that just could have been, I think, their utilization just could have been transitioned to be more weaponized in the passing game, and you chose not to do that. You chose a injured X-Man as a better weapon in the passing game over some of those other possible options, and I would beg to disagree.
I
think we found out. I think it was a miscalculation.
So here's the deal. So I'm looking at the last time Texas played was the 29th. Right? So January 1st. Let's just use January 1st as the date. He said he's been out. He's been in a cast for 8 weeks. Was that the 8 weeks right after the season? Was that the time that he got it? Because obviously he didn't have it during the season because he played in all the games. So I'm confused about it. So if he was playing the entire season, and again, I'm not trying to play Inspector Clouseau on this deal. I'm taking the man at his word.
Nice.
I'm just curious to the entire formulation of this conversation. Like, okay, I guess you guys didn't know about this, but he had a broken hand on that. Okay, so now you got us questioning your game plan. Now you got our conversation about why would you use a player whose hand is definitely something wrong with it, where you said you kept him out of practice during the week. That also takes away from him being able to catch the ball consistently.
Ding, ding, ding. And have chemistry with your new quarterback.
Exactly.
Ding, ding, ding.
So I'm confused about what was the plan for the season when you had all these other weapons, and you can't tell me you didn't, because we've seen it, and we talked about this before the show, Rob. This is the first year that Jay Witt was healthy the entire time. And if you go back and watch film, and I know you do, he's open a lot.
I agree. I think they could have expanded the route tree for him, definitely, and have him run more downfield routes. It makes it tracks, because anybody who watched it thought, man, why is Xavier Worthy regressing to this extent? And I understand why. Sorry, because you look at yards after catch, because X-Man was great on yards after the catch. He was actually 10th in the Power 5 in yards after the catch in 2021. He was 41st in the Power 5 in 2022. So you don't want to throw him short routes because you don't want him getting hit, dealing with a lot of contact on that hand. I get that too. Plus, he might fumble because right hand, left hand, we're not sure which one it is. But then it gets to throwing the deep ball to him, and I guess for Sark, his thought process was he's better at catching a deep ball with his injury, whatever it is, his hand injury. But that also wasn't the case. He was not better at catching a deep ball in that case. So how did you troubleshoot it if you didn't practice?
Right.
Do we just go into the game and assume
Just ride
he's
out.
a
Let's
gamer?
just see what happens. Oh, you're gonna show up. We're gonna shoot you up. Whatever. I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, yeah, there's a miscommunication, and then it goes back to what we were talking about earlier in the year about the fact that they're not connecting on the deep ball. Because why? They didn't have the practice time together to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, now all of it. Like, oh, now
Yeah.
it all makes sense.
Yes.
But then it doesn't make sense.
Correct. Correct.
Because now it's like, well, why didn't Jay Witt get more run and
Thank
JT
you.
Sanders get more run and Bijan in the passing game should have been more of a weapon, and yet, hell, I got to go look at the target rate for X-Man in the passing game, but we all remember complaining about his target rate in games.
Agreed.
When we thought he was healthy.
Correct. Correct.
We were complaining like, oh man, I think
Why are you throwing to him every play?
I think the passing game is too centralized on X-Man.
Right.
You should use him as a decoy. There should be other guys involved. If they're doubling him, numbers tell you football-wise, 11-11, somebody else is getting man-to-man coverage.
Thank you.
Who is that person? And find them quickly.
Yes.
And I don't think there ever was that troubleshooting process for Sark. So I would say for me, learning this news, yes, now it brings more clarity to the film study about and the regression of Xavier Worthy. But now I have more questions about the offense and why the offense and the passing game became so Xavier Worthy centric when he was dealing with the injury.
Yeah,
makes no sense at all.
That's why
if I'm Jordan Whittington, I'm not gonna lie, I'm upset. And I know he knew about this anyway. But it's like he's healthy for the first time in 3 years, and you're gonna throw it. You're gonna keep throwing it to an injured player instead of throwing it to a healthy Jay Witt
and Sanders,
JT,
who was a mismatch nightmare.
First team All Big 12 tight end.
So for those that are driving in their car trying to wondering why we're talking about, and those on the 40 acres wondering why we're talking about this, is because we're trying to make sense of some of the targets. And if this is true, then we definitely have to really peel back the onion and find out what really happened.
Yeah, it was just I think it was a miscalculation by him. I think the assumption was that Xavier Worthy, without the practice time, because he admitted that he wasn't practicing, that the chemistry between he and the quarterback would not suffer, terribly, which it did. And he also thought he would be able to play through. And by the way, guys play through injury all the time. It's football. So I think the assumption was he'd be able to play through that injury, and the productivity would not drop off. It wouldn't be a precipitous drop-off in productivity playing through the injury. Also, miscalculation.
Yeah, and I'm sure Xavier Worthy is telling him every day when you're getting to Thursday, Friday, he's like, no, man, it's feeling much better. It's feeling pretty good today. I think it's feeling better, so that he can go out there and play on Saturday because he wants to play. I get it. He's a gamer. He wants to go play.
Yeah.
So,
but you got to protect some players from themselves.
No, I get that. And that's the question of more of like, why were you doing this if you knew after week 3 of him dropping every long ball, when you had to go, man, I don't think it's better. That's more the question, because I get why Xavier Worthy wants to go out there. But at a certain point, you may go on, hey, man, I get we don't have a lot of options. So this game, I'm just letting you know, we're not targeting you. We're going to send you on a lot of fly routes to try and pull defenses because you're still drawing double teams. We may throw it over there a couple times, but we're going to throw it pretty far away from you so it can't be picked off. And then we're going to try and use you to open up the other field, but we need you to give you a couple weeks to heal.
They just sent us a picture. Here he is with a cast on. So
on the right hand. There you go. Hey, thanks, Texas.
There you go.
You guys are awesome.
Yep.
We appreciate that.
And that was on February the 5th. So that's why he's saying. So that must have happened. I'm thinking.
You're trying to put a timeline together.
I'm putting a timeline together. So here it is. I think they put him in the cast, or he had something done to his hand, whether it was surgery or not, after the bowl game, as I was saying. So they were saying that's about 8 weeks. So that means he missed the workouts. He wasn't catching passes during that time up until today's practices, right? So that's how I would see the timeline for him. Because if he was just in the cast and they said that this was on February the 5th that he posted it, so now he's coming back.
And Sark did say to start it off, we're glad to have him back, which means he was away.
How much of this, because we've heard multiple stories, rumors, whatever you want to call them, of X-Man being recruited, if you will, wooed by other programs to try to go other places via the transfer portal with the NIL, the way it works with the free market hitting college football. I wonder how much of this for Sark is, I got to give him targets. Otherwise, he gone.
Yeah.
That's fair, but we can't coach like that.
If he comes out, hear me out though. If he comes out and he's like, hey, just like my man Patrick says, hey, I'm healthy, coach. I'm feeling better every week, and he's not practicing, which I agree. I don't know how you troubleshoot whether he's going to be ready for the game if he's not practicing, but coach just has, faith that he's going to be the guy. If he's thinking about transferring, if coach decides to take away his targets and he's saying, coach, I can play. I mean, the modern college football that we live in, you do have to listen. And that would explain some of the target share when we're all going, what the hell? We didn't even know he was injured. And we're going, why do you keep throwing into double teams? He's covered. The game plan is obviously take away X-Man. Why do we keep throwing to him? There's somebody else in one-on-one coverage and man and open. I'm just saying, you got to keep your stars happy in an NIL transfer portal world. And ain't no doubt he was a star. He ain't Bijan. Bijan and Rojo were cut from a different cloth. We all agree. You ain't to worry about Bijan and Rojo. There are several reports that X-Man was looking elsewhere. Actually, in multiple years.
But look.
So
I get it.
It's just a theory, but I'm just saying.
No.
We're trying to look for a reason as to why we are force feeding a football to somebody who now had a sort of kind of broken hand, who also is being double covered. I'm like, he ain't Calvin Johnson. All right. He's good, but damn, he ain't that good.
Well, he ain't that build either.
Right.
Like, he's not 6'5" and get up over people and jump up and go grab the ball like Calvin Johnson.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so you throwing into double teams. That happened a lot. More so that a coach could have easily corrected that. That kept happening. So you're scheming that open, and then you're doing it to a guy who also has a broken hand. Why?
Right.
Give me why. Tell me why. Tell me why.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Well, and I mean, if you're looking at the next year, if Isaiah Nayor can come back and play at a high level, and A.D. Mitchell can play at a high level.
He's still rehabbing, though, by the way.
No, I get but I'm saying if those guys can come back, well, what's the target share now? And are you just saying, hey, man, we made it to when you can go to the NFL draft, Xavier Worthy, this whole gonna give you so you don't transfer thing, we got to cut back. Like, I have other weapons. I have to be able to use those other weapons, or else they're all going to be gone.
That's why you probably stockpile the receiver room. You ain't got to worry about that again. Well, you ain't got to worry about it anyways.
I mean, you have all those.
That's the part that's bothering me the most, man. I that's the part that the day and age that we're in, where we're trying to save one guy to spite our team, though. That's the problem. I know he's a talent, but there's talent out there, man. There's a lot of good players out there, and if you cultivate that room, you don't have to worry about that. That's the thing that I'm sitting here looking at it is like, when did the University of Texas had to covet to one person? And that's the thing that I'm happy that the kids can get the money. I'm glad that they have this option to be able to go and do whatever they want. But as a grown man, you can't sit there and be like, I'm going to have this 18 to 19-year-old kid holding my program hostage. Because this is supposed to be the University of Texas. And if he's got that kind of mindset, so be it. I know it's his first one. I know that's the guy that he brought with him. But the realization of our sports now, in the world that we're living in, I get it. You want to make sure that you keep your stars happy. And what did Jimmy Johnson say? You don't always treat everybody the same. You get respect, but you don't all get the same respect. I get it. But, man, that this game has just changed so much that we're throwing to a kid in double coverage that's got a broken hand.
It's just a theory, but
a hand problem.
Oh, can you give me a better reason as to why we're throwing to a guy in double coverage with a broken hand who's not Calvin Johnson?
Right.
He's not even Roy Williams.
I can't give it to you. Give it to you.
He's 175 soaking wet.
If that.
Wait, how about this theory? Sark, his entire offense is built around the deep threat. He feels he has one guy that can do it, and he doesn't. And it's like, if he's telling me he's okay, this is my offense. I'm going to do it. Now, that's still not a good I don't think there's any way we come out of this with a positive, well, his hand was broken. He kept throwing to him. That makes sense.
Right.
That doesn't happen. So you just have to figure out the best bad situation, and whether it's that Sark's offense has to have a deep threat, and so he has to throw the ball down there because in his head it won't work. And every week he's just hoping.
You saying that Jay Witt just sucks at
That's
the deep
what I'm
ball?
saying. I'm like,
Jay Witt and JT Sanders are just like some jabronis when it comes to the deep ball. Like, that guy can work the seam. He's a 5-star freak. Jay Witt's a freak.
Bro.
The guy's one of the fastest guys on the team.
He's on the track team. I mean, he's on the relay team that Bijan said he would have put him on it.
If X-Man's the only guy that can catch a deep ball, then your development sucks. Like, come on, man.
I agree with all this.
We're not mad
at the situation.
I'm just
Yeah.
come
like,
on.
all
This
right.
is where we at. This is what
no
we're
matter
doing.
what theory we throw out there to justify it, we are
it
going to
makes
be
you more
upset.
mad.
We're going to be upset. We're not
I'm
going to
just
like
curious. My goodness.
it. Okay. All right, Harge. What you got for Harge Knock Life?
Well, I was going to talk a little baseball, but I don't know if I really want
Let's
to.
make more theories that we all hate.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm going to talk a little bit of baseball, and I'm going to try to give the Texas Longhorn fans some hope, but because I've seen some of the other teams in our conference, and there's still a chance. That's why I say no pushing the panic button.
Yes. I
There we
like that.
go.
Hope coming up next for Harge Knock Life right here on Ball Don't Lie 104.9 The Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. You can make your basketball bracket a moneymaker with MyBookie. Getting started is easy. Visit MyBookie online. Use the promo code HORN to receive a deposit bonus up to $1,000. That's right. Use the promo code HORN, HORN. Then grab your extra funds now, and for a limited time, claim a free entry into the $150,000 MyBookie Madness Bracket Contest for a chance at big money. We're talking about straight cash, homie. If you're the type of guy or gal who likes to fill out multiple brackets to get an advantage, you can do that too. The price of entry is less than an Uber ride, all for the shot at life-changing money. We're talking about a lot of cash, folks. With so many brands to choose from, you need a platform that makes it simple to bet and easy to use and easy to win, like MyBookie. Visit MyBookie online and use the promo code HORN, HORN, to receive a deposit bonus up to $1,000. That's HORN, HORN. That's right, folks. Bet anything, bet anytime, and bet anywhere. As long as you're betting with MyBookie, you're betting with the best.
Welcome back to the Smooth Soul Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie. It's your boy Hardball Harge. You can follow me on Twitter at Hardball Harge. You can follow my man Rob Babers at Rob Babers. And, of course, the man that's in charge of all these great days of the week and giving you all that music is my man Patrick Davis, and you can follow him at It's Patrick Davis. We love when you're a part of the show. Hit us up on the Specs text line 512-337-3776, and you guys have been great. This was a great conversation between us all, and I know everybody has theories and thought processes, and we're all going to think about it and try to figure out what the heck is going on out there. But hey, we moved on. We got spring football. We'll get into that conversation as well. I want to talk a little bit about baseball here, and not too much. I'm not going to go all the way into it because we understand it was a tough weekend out at Cal State Fullerton. Texas came back home, winning one of 3 games, went 1-2 on the weekend. Tough losses situationally. There's still a lot of work to be done. But I want to tell you this. I've had the pleasure of working a lot of baseball games early this season. I'll be on the call with Craig Way tomorrow night as the Horns take on Sam Houston State. So I'm excited to be out there and kind of watch this team continue to grow. I do want to tell you this. Being able to call these games, I get a chance to talk to a lot of coaches, and all of them have come to the same conclusion. With the changes in the teams and the constant movement and replacing players, there has all been a struggle. We can look at some of the teams in the Big 12 where they've gone. We can look at Baylor, for instance. Baylor was a team that's been trying to get their things together. They brought in a new coach, and they're trying to make some changes there, and there's a lot of movement. You look at what Oklahoma lost a lot of players to the draft, as did Texas, and they're rebuilding. I got a chance to watch them this weekend and talk to their coaching staff. You look at K-State, West Virginia, Kansas, TCU, Oklahoma State, and Texas Tech. Texas Tech record, everybody gets excited about it. Ooh, 11-2. They got a lot of young players. I get hit on the Specs text line by a Texas Tech fan. I see you. I'm just not acknowledging you all the time because of the fact I want you to go back and look at who you played during that time as well. You went down to Minute Maid this past weekend, and your team didn't look as great as you once thought they were. They played okay, but they weren't as good. They weren't beating up the world like they normally were at the very beginning of the season. It's about who you play. And you can go and look at what Texas has coming up this week, and if Texas goes out and plays well, they will have a better record. Why? Because the competition is not what the Big 12 and the SEC looks like. I've gotten a chance to see Big 10 teams. I've gotten a chance to see SEC teams. There is a lot of change that is happening in the college baseball game. There is an opportunity for some of these young guys get their feet wet. They going up against top-level competition when they went to Globe Life. It was tough. And then they played LSU at home.
That's right.
Now, going out to Cal State Fullerton, I expected them to sweep out there. I'm not going to lie to you. I expected them to sweep because Cal State is not what we thought Cal State usually was going to be. So I'm looking at it totally different about that trip. That's why I was a little bit more disappointed in the way that they lost. The biggest thing for me, for this Texas Longhorn baseball team, they have to change their approaches. And what I mean by that is we need to stop looking for guys that are going to try to knock the ball out of the park. That's not what this team is made of. And the older players need to be more consistent. We're not going to have a big home run. This might be the worst year after having the best year in Texas baseball history. This might be the worst year, and that's okay. But what do you need to do? You need to do more hit and runs. You need to make sure you can catch it because fielding has been an issue. If you could go out there and play good defense and have your pitchers throw strikes, it increases your chances to win. And again, we're going to the Big 12 conference. This is what I'm talking about. That is what I'm waiting on. I'm waiting to see what Texas can do in the Big 12. Yes, you can make all your assumptions. My man Mark Pena of Occupy Left Field, he's been tweeting a lot, and he's really worried. He's really worried. I'm not going to worry just yet. I'm going to continue to watch this. And the biggest transformation is going to be LeBaron Johnson to help follow Lucas Gordon. Now, he normally starts on either Tuesdays or Wednesdays. We don't know what it's going to look like, but if by the time we get to conference play, if he's in that rotation on the weekend where you got Lucas Gordon going on Friday and LBJ going on either Saturday or Sunday, I like our chances if he can hone it in. Against LSU, you didn't have any bigger test than going up against the number 1 ranked team in the nation, going against the LSU Tigers. Texas ended up losing that game, but they were in the game all the way to the very end until that big home run was given up. So, number 1, put the ball in play, Texas batters. Make it where it's tough, because what I've seen in my weekends of calling games, people underestimate the fact of they got to catch it, they got to throw it, and they got to catch it again. There's a lot of errors that are being made within that process. And I've seen it week in and week out, and that has been the biggest challenge. Have to go out there and make those adjustments. I'm not giving up hope. I'm going to continue to watch this and watch the learning process, watch the learning curves, and see if these guys are going to step up and take this opportunity to be playing at home as long as they are, and making sure that they show up every single night. A lot of this, you can say Coach Pierce this, Coach Pierce that. A lot of this has to go with players. I was a guy that stood in the batter's box, and I had to face some tough pitchers. I had to make some adjustments in my life. And if you as a batter can't make those adjustments and try to work harder on not looking for the power and start looking for the base hits and manufacturing some things are there, I want to see that. I want to see that as well. So there's a lot to be paying attention to. I still believe in this team. There's no panic button. But Patrick, I need you to start searching, my brother. I need you to start searching, and I'll let you know when we need to start playing it. But this team has got a good opportunity to get better up until the Big 12 Big 12 conference play, and then we'll start looking at it.
Yeah. Man, when's the last time Texas started this slow?
I think it was 2019.
2019.
I think our man CB sent that to us and was talking about the 2019 team where they didn't make the Big 12 tournament.
Okay.
Remember, if Texas can't get into the Big 12 tournament, whatever button you want to push, whatever sounder you have, that is when we need to start having that discussion. But I'll start it a little bit earlier than that if they're not coming out there making those plays.
Yeah, I was going to say. People will sound it for you. Trust me.
Trust me.
I think Occupy Left Field will throw it out there for you.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it's been a difficult time for Texas baseball early on, but it is a long season. Hopefully they find a way to bounce back.
No doubt.
This week.
Yep.
You want them above 500
I do want
by the end of this week. If they're not.
What?
All right. We'll come back. We'll get into a little off the record. There was history made over the weekend, and I actually was a part of it. We'll talk about that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let's talk about my good friends over at Apple Leasing, because they can be your good friends, too. As a matter of fact, you need them on your side. The car market is crazy these days. You might need somebody to help you, walk you through the process, to help you find the best value out there, and that's what Apple Leasing is all about. They're all about you. They're all going to help you find the best value. They're going to save you time and save you money. That is their business. They have the ability to put you in any make or model vehicle that you want. The professionals over at Apple Leasing will help you get the price you want, the payment you want on the car that you want. Now, all it takes is one phone call or one click on Apple Leasing's website, and you'll get a quote on any make or model vehicle that you want. They can even give you an estimate on the value of your trade-in right over the phone. Apple Leasing makes everything simple. They understand the car market can be very complicated, especially these days, be really complicated and really expensive. So they want to make sure that they give you the best deal possible. They have what they call their simple interest easy lease, which allows you to have a lot more flexibility, which is going to give you more possibilities and options to help you find the vehicle that fits you best, but more importantly, the vehicle that fits your budget best. Inflation is through the roof. We all know it. We all feel it. It's never been more expensive to buy a new car, buy a used car, buy anything for that matter. So leasing actually makes more sense than ever. You're only paying for the part of the car you're actually using. So call Apple Leasing today, 512-346-9977, and let them see how much money they can save you. Apple Leasing gets all the same discounts and all the same incentives that the dealers do, except my friends at Apple Leasing, they pass those savings on to you, the customer. So give them a call, 512-346-9977, or visit appleleasing.com. That's appleleasing.com. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. We got a couple of stories we could jump into, but I want to hit this one first for Off the Record. And we have another Off the Record coming up in the 5:45, and we'll talk about some of the conduct, which should be unbecoming of the brother of a Super Bowl MVP. Yeah, that was a weird story that came out.
Very
over the weekend.
much so.
We'll get into that too coming up, and we'll talk Ja Morant and the latest controversy. Scandal about Ja Morant, who is right now observing he is, I don't know what you call sabbatical. He's not suspended, but he's away from the team for a while just to think about his conduct, something like that. So we'll get into that later on. But off the record here, I want to talk about the box office weekend. Creed 3, which I got a chance to see over the weekend, so I won't spoil anything.
Did?
Yep, won't spoil anything for anybody. I did like it, though. I thought it was really good, and I wasn't the only one.
Okay.
It was the number one it's the number one Rocky or Creed opening of all time. So it beat out any of the Rocky or Creed movies opening ever. It grabbed $58.6 million that weekend. Biggest opening ever for a sports movie.
Wow.
That was surprising to me too.
Oh, you mean it was better than Rocky? Number-wise?
Well, it beat all the Rockies. It beat all the Rockies in the
kidding.
Creed movies. I said that, but it's the biggest. You talking trash on Rocky, man.
I'm just messing around. I'm not a big fan. Remember I told
You like the Creed movies, though.
I do love the Creed
All
movies.
right, this is just they're calling the Creed. It's not it's a sequel and basically a reboot, so it's a requel. Is the new term. There you
okay.
go. If you want to be cool, you can
requel.
throw that term out there
Be
to
the
your
cool
kiddos
guy
to make
with
it sound
that.
cool.
I'm a requel.
But the biggest,
Yeah, that makes it sound real cool.
It's a requel.
but the biggest opening ever for a sports movie. That was, and you know what? I'll say the reason that it was good was because of the villain. Jonathan Majors is damn good, and he's fantastic in it. And I won't spoil anything
Big
about
fan
it.
of
But
his.
yeah, he's been he's in the Marvel universe now, and he's been in a ton of different things, and he's great. And I would go as far as to say he could be in the running for one of the all-time greatest sports movie villains.
Ooh.
I'm just gonna throw it
You
out
throwing
there.
that out there like
Yeah,
that? Okay.
He'll be. He could be in the conversation for one of the all-time greatest sports movie
he's
villains.
one of the few American ones, right?
sports movie villains.
Yeah, they're usually
Well,
another country, right?
Well, I guess Apollo technically was a villain.
For what?
Before
For a couple movies.
Then there's Clubber Lang. Hell, most of the great sports movie villains are from Rocky.
Yeah, that's true.
Rocky did a good job with those. But you're right, Drago was, of course. But then there was like, Shooter McGavin.
Yeah, Shooter McGavin's up there.
Right?
Yeah.
That was it's a comedic villain, but still a villain nonetheless. He's in there.
Shooter.
Yeah, Shooter's in that conversation. Birdie, Tupac's character from Above the Rim, is in that conversation too.
Oh, yeah. That was good.
He's in that
He was a
conversation
good one.
too.
He was a good one.
Chun Li, remember Chun Li
I
from
do.
Bloodsport back in the day?
I do.
He's in there. There's a bunch of them, sports. But I'm telling you, that's how good. I think his character is Dame Anderson in the movie. But it's worth it because the villain, to me, the villains make all the movies. Any good Marvel movie is a good Marvel villain. And if it's not a good Marvel villain or a comic book villain in the movie, no matter what adaptation is, it's probably going to suck. The Creed 3 movie is good because the villain is pretty damn compelling.
I like it.
He's basically a cross between. He's basically a new age Clubber Lang, truth be told. But he's better than Clubber Lang. He's classier than Clubber Lang. Clubber Lang was just. Clubber Lang was basically what Mike Tyson was before Mike Tyson.
Exactly.
Right?
Thank you. I'm
Before
glad you
Mike
said
Tyson
that.
came
Say
out-
woman.
Yeah.
Say woman.
That was what Clubber Lang was doing. But no, he's a really good villain. So if you check it out, go check it out.
Is he better than Thunderlips?
Thunderlips. Hulk
Thunderlips
Hogan.
is here.
Yes, forgot about that. Right? And he said, it's Rocky 3, the beginning of it, right? It's
Yeah,
Thunderlips.
yeah.
I forget all about Hulk Hogan's little cameo in there.
He's like, so we're gonna go out here and do this little boxing. I'm gonna hear you, and then we'll go. And he was like, nah, I'm body slamming.
Exactly. And by the way, Sylvester Stallone apparently he's been asked to, I guess, remove himself from the franchise. Like he's not involved with the Creed franchise anymore.
Right.
He said his quote was, "I stepped away. It was taken in a different direction than a quite different direction than I would have I've taken it.
Right.
It's a different
fine.
philosophy." So. And I think he's away from it, so they're doing their own thing. But I thought they did a pretty damn good job. All right, that's an update on the Rocky Creed 3. And the Stevie Jones are gaslighting Cowboys fans, and I believe I have more proof.
Oh my gosh.
I had proof last week, more proof that you are being gaslit, Cowboys fans. We'll discuss that. Also, Derek Carr to the Saints. We'll talk about that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn.
No.
Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Everyone knows that my favorite tequila is Hot Cat Tequila. The cat stands for cinnamon, agave, and tequila, and the recipe is just as simple and brilliant and delicious. The cinnamon, agave, nectar, and tequila. That's why it's so light. That's why it's so smooth. It's a tequila lover's dream. And if you're not a fan of tequila, Hot Cat Tequila will make you a fan of tequila. Hot Cat Tequila will turn every event into a party, and every party feels like a celebration. So celebrate and turn up with Hot Cat Tequila. Once you try Hot Cat, you can't go back to that old cinnamon whiskey or that cheap tequila you ordered rounds of when you were just trying to get the party started. Turn up your party and turn up any party and every celebration with Hot Cat Tequila. No football watch party or watch party is complete without Hot Cat Tequila. Perfect way to pregame for all the big games, concerts, festivals, or a night on the town with family and friends. Hot Cat Tequila is best served cold for a quick round of shots or to sip on the rocks. So visit cattequila.com. That's cattequila.com to find a store near you that sells Hot Cat Tequila or to find a bar near you that serves Hot Cat Tequila. Toast and turn up with Hot Cat Tequila. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Smooth Soul Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie. My man Patrick plays smooth jams, soulful jams. They're designed to soothe the tortured soul of sports fans who may have had a difficult weekend. That was certainly the case for Texas baseball fans. My man Harge, he's got some hope for you, all right? He's
selling hope today.
He's selling hope and change, man. He's selling
That's right.
hope and change like Obama and the Catholic Church. He's selling hope and change, baby. It's a
There it
beautiful thing. And you can go catch his Harsh Knock Life where he's talking Texas baseball there and giving you some reasons to be hopeful about the Texas baseball season, which has started a little rough. I'm throwing it out there. And did have our good friend, Fancy Boots, say it was the slowest start for Texas baseball since 2012.
Wow, that's way, way back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So no panic button just yet. Harge will let you guys know when you need to even worry about a panic button. Right now, don't even worry about it. But Patrick's actually he's actually doing the due diligence and looking for panic sounders.
Look, I'll worry about it.
Yes, yeah. Let Patrick worry about it. That's why he's paid the big bucks.
There it is.
All right, we'll get into some Texas football conversation next segment. We talked about this earlier, but Steve Sarkisian, media availability for the first Texas spring football practice. And already Longhorn fans are amped up. Steve Sarkisian, I guarantee you, Coach Sark did not think that everything that he said would be analyzed and criticized and ridiculed to this extent. But this is what it's like to be the football coach at Texas.
Right.
I mean, it's just the reality. That's why you get paid the big bucks.
No doubt.
So we'll talk about that. His controversial comments that he made that's got Longhorn fans. They're just, I think Longhorn fans are just a little confused by what they saw this season and the comments that Steve Sarkisian made. But we'll get to those, and we'll actually hear from Steve Sarkisian coming up next segment. We'll do that in Raj round today. We're just going to push back everything, and we'll also get to Longhorns at the NFL Combine here in this segment, too. We've had some different news stories that have come out, so we're just trying to make sure we hit all the hot topics. All right, let's start with the Derek Carr to the Saints. Then we'll make our way to the Jerry Jones gaslighting, which I think it's proof that he's gaslighting y'all, man. We got 2 bits of audio I think we can play, and we'll play the first one, which I would say honestly is Jerry Jones criticizing Dak just a little bit. It's a bit. I don't know if it's critical, but it's definitely him complaining a little bit, whining a little bit about the contract that Dak has. And why would you whine about paying your franchise quarterback what he is worthy of, what the market says that he's worth? So we'll get into that too coming up. All right, Derek Carr to the Saints first, quick, gentlemen. Let's get into that. It is reported that Derek Carr has decided that he's going to the New Orleans Saints. He's going to meet up with Dennis Allen. Remember, Dennis Allen was with the Raiders way back in the day. Dennis Allen now is the head coach there. He was the defensive coordinator there before Sean Payton stepped away. So I guess reuniting once again with Dennis Allen. But what are our thoughts about Derek Carr making the Saints a contender? The Saints are definitely, I would say him being on the Saints now makes them a playoff team, no question.
No doubt.
Right?
I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
They said, I was looking at some of the numbers, and it came across as saying that 9 wins was with Andy Dalton. That's what they were saying the numbers were going to be, and it went to 9.3 wins with Derek Carr, and I think it's more than that.
Really? Just 0.3 more?
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and the thing about it to me that is really something that we need to think about is the fact that when you look at this team and where they are in that division, think about it. Desmond Ridder is there. Kyle Trask is there. And we don't know who's going to be in Carolina. You got Matt Corral.
Yeah, they could do something in the draft. We don't know. Yeah.
So with him going to that division, I think that's a great move by him. I think they got young wide receivers that can go and get the football. You don't know what's going to happen with Alvin Kamara yet because of his background and what's going on. Mm-hmm. You still don't know what's happening with that. But we shall see. We shall see what happens moving forward.
I like that defense. The Saints defense is always one of the better defenses in the league. And, yes, if you get a healthy Michael Thomas, I have no idea what the hell is going on with Michael Thomas. I don't think anybody does.
No. He's happy to have Derek Carr.
We
know that.
But I don't know if it's him. I don't know if he's like a quiet quitting type thing going on with the Saints, or is it actually hurt.
Quitting. I like that. I forgot about that.
I don't think anybody really
because
does.
he was the one that no one could ever tell what his injury was.
Yeah, it was like
It was
very,
one of those things where they were like,
murky.
well, he's hurt, but we can't say what it is, or yeah.
very strange. But you are a Raiders fan now, so you have a personal connection with the divorce of the Raiders from Derek Carr. What are your thoughts about Derek Carr? You got the chance to see him up close and personal. Some people say he's on the decline. Is he? You saw more of him
No,
than he
I
did.
think that. I think that the decline would have been he was in a new offense that he wasn't built for him, and that was set up for him to fail. Like that offense, he was never going to be the future quarterback for McDaniels. He just didn't want him there. So I think that put into some of it. Now you're going to go into a place where Dennis Allen can help you get a little bit better of, hey, man, I know what Derek Carr is. I know what he did before. He's a smarter quarterback than he was when he was younger. I think you can do a lot of things. It is going to depend on if Michael Thomas can come back, because now that opens you up to a better weapon. And if Alvin Kamara is there, because if your supporting weapons aren't there, then there's not much you can do anyway. But you're in the NFC South.
Yep.
Like, I think that it makes the most sense for him. They haven't drafted a quarterback in the first 2 rounds. The Saints haven't since Archie Manning.
Yeah, that's not how they operate. But that was a Sean Payton thing, so I don't know if they're going to keep that. But yeah.
But I mean, they didn't do it before.
They didn't do it before.
As I said,
It's
Archie
organizational,
Manning
yeah.
was the last quarterback they drafted
just
in the
don't-
first 2 rounds.
That's weird, yeah.
So they don't like. So for Derek Carr, knowing, hey, these are probably not a guy who are going to spend a lot of draft capital on quarterbacks. So I can play for the 3 or 4 years of my contract, as opposed to going to the Jets, where they're going to be looking ahead, or going to Carolina, where they already may have their next quarterback.
Right.
Like, all those other places basically wanted a younger quarterback, and we're going to use him as a stopgap. He didn't want to be a stopgap. He gets to go to New Orleans now to try and prove again that he is a franchise quarterback and can be for the next 5-6 years.
Yeah, and New Orleans gets another, like, a really loyal quarterback for this day and age. Like, Drew Brees was, unquestionably loyal to, like, the community. And Derek Carr's one of those guys, he loved the Raider Nation and organization. And he still has not talked trash on him.
No, he knew better.
He's been given an opportunity to even trash Josh McDaniels, and he won't do it.
No.
He's like, nah, I'm good. I'm moving on.
I think he realized, he had good advice behind him that was like, you can do this all in a book when you get older. But while you're in the game, don't give anybody any more fodder, and don't
burn bridges. It's all right, yeah.
It's like, wait till you're done with the game.
But I think he's a classy guy, too. I don't know if he'll ever do it.
I don't know if he'll ever do it.
Classy
I
dude.
think if Josh McDaniels gets busted out of the league again and is fired after this year or something, I think down the line he could be like, oh, yeah, he was a terrible coach.
On the Pat McAfee show or something.
Yeah. So I think he could do that down the line. But he knows better to do it right now, because he's still going, hey, man, I want to go prove him wrong on the field. Like, that's the best way I can prove him wrong, is if I go win and make the playoffs and the Raiders are still at the bottom of the league, then who was right?
No doubt about it. Yeah. No, I'm with you. What they say, the best revenge is to live well.
Yes. Which is not true. But
I think we can all agree with that. But no, I think it's going to be, like I said, I think they're going to be a playoff team. And if that is their barometer for success, then I think it will be a successful transaction. And I agree with Patrick. He wants to be there for longer than just, a 1 year. And he wants to build something more so than being a stopgap quarterback. So I like the move. And I love their offensive coordinator. Nobody talks about P.D. Carmichael, but he's been there forever. Yeah, he's been there forever. And he was with Sean Payton. He's a really good offensive mind. And I think P.D. Carmichael actually now has an upgraded quarterback. If those, Alvin Kamara, the drama there works out with the legal case that he's got, if that works out, and Michael Thomas, whatever is happening with Michael Thomas, if that allows him to come back to the field, that's a dangerous offense.
And then Olave. Chris
Olave, that's a dangerous
That's what I'm
offense.
saying. They got a lot of good players there.
Yeah, that's dangerous, man.
Yeah.
You better watch out for that. Yeah, they'd be my pick right now in the South.
Right.
NFC South.
There's no reason not to.
Just with that upgrade there.
Yeah.
So, good move. We'll talk some more about that a little bit later on this week. 'Cause I'm sure there'll be some more stories coming out about Derek Carr going to the Saints, because this may be the first linchpin, the first domino, if you will, in the kind of quarterback carousel that's expected this offseason. And the Jets, remember, they were a team that really liked Derek Carr. Was talking about they had great meetings with Derek Carr, multiple meetings, and they were looking at Derek Carr or Aaron Rodgers. Well, they ain't getting Derek Carr.
Right.
So I wonder if the Aaron Rodgers decision, still haven't heard anything from the Darkness Retreat.
Come on, man.
If he was enlightened
talking
during the
about
Darkness
Batman.
Retreat. Yeah, Darkness Retreat, baby. Was it 4 days?
They said it was 4 days, but reports came out that he was only there 2.
I agree. He probably was supposed to be 4. He's like, I'm not doing it for 2 days.
And he
Well,
had
I mean-
light in there too.
Well, yeah,
Well, you
and
gotta
also
go to the restroom. How am I gonna see where I go to the restroom? I ain't got
Man,
no
come
light.
on, man.
Hey,
I'm gonna pop a squat.
now the thing is if you're in this dark place, you don't know what day it is. Because it's dark.
Yeah.
So you may be just where like he walked out and he was like, what was that, like 7 days? And like, dude, it's been 7 hours.
Solitary confinement, man.
That's probably true.
I will say this too, as you look in the quarterback carousel, Derek Carr's 4-year, $150 million puts it about $38 million a year, and he got a no trade clause. So when we're talking about guys like Daniel Jones and Geno Smith and these other quarterbacks who are up for signing, keep that in mind. That $38 million was for Derek Carr, a guy who was cut.
Right.
So a cut quarterback got $38 million.
Geno Smith, someone texted me and said Geno Smith might be getting ready to sign a deal too. So we'll look up that too. Because you're right. That's exactly what you start looking at, the precedent that's been set.
Yeah.
And for Daniel Jones, he's in the Derek Carr value is going to really affect a guy like Daniel Jones and Geno Smith.
Yeah.
No doubt. Because they're in that same category.
Yeah, and I mean, if we know the franchise tag right now for a quarterback is around $45 million, I think that's where most of these guys are starting negotiations around that $45 million because they're like, what? So you're going to pay me $45 million because you're going to tag me.
Yep.
So either you're going to pay me $45 million or you're going to pay me $45 million and keep me long term.
Here's the Geno deal. 3 years, $105 million deal.
Is that what they're saying?
That's what I'm seeing from writing from NFL.com.
Well,
NFL at NFL Net. Yeah, I mean, it says 6 Seahawks. Geno Smith agrees to 3-year, $105 million deal.
All right. Well, that's a real good value for him.
yeah.
He had a hell of a year, but it was unexpected, and we've never seen a quarterback trajectory and path quite like Geno Smith's, where a guy is on his 8th year or something, and then finally has his breakout year with was his 3rd team or something. It doesn't happen that way. It's great, but I do wonder if it's sustainable or if it's just a blip. Just an outlier.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it's sustainable, but I'm just saying we don't see it.
Well, also,
When's the
does
last
he
time you
really
saw a
want to
route
go
like
test
that?
it on the free agent and go somewhere else and not equal it again? And so it's like, man, I'll sign this with Pete Carroll, and hopefully I'll be able to keep it rolling. But I don't want to go, and then the Jets are like, hey, come on back here. And you're like, oh
yeah. And
PTSD.
Geno will get it says it's worth it, but he can earn it with incentives close to like 50-something million in the first year with incentives and everything.
Well, that's
Yeah, so I bet it's front loaded.
yeah.
I bet it's a front loaded deal. They give them all your cash over cap thing, Patrick.
Yeah.
Give them all the money, and then they can decide to move on if they need to or want to next year or the year after, because they got a lot of draft capital too. They could decide to draft their quarterback of the future this year or next year.
Wrote me off, but I didn't write back.
Hey, it's a great
now
story.
Now he's signing them checks, getting them big dollars, baby.
Straight cash, homie. Yeah,
straight
congrats to Geno.
cash, homie.
All right, so let's get to this Jerry Jones sound too, because Jerry Jones
Bring it back.
Apparently, yeah, because I think it's perfect.
Yep.
It's a perfect segue because Jerry Jones is talking about Dak Prescott's contract actually, and he's talking about how it hinders their ability to build and construct the roster a certain way. Here's Jerry Jones. I believe he's on his bus.
He definitely was
Holding
on his
court.
bus,
Yeah,
because
at
if you
the
look at the video, it's like, come on, man.
He's on
Yeah,
his bus.
you will hear his bus in this car.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's Jerry Jones discussing the Dak Prescott and the limitations of that contract. All right, Harge. Listen, he makes a great point. There's no question there's some merit and the validity to the statement. But the Kim Kardashian, Nicki Minaj, Serena Williams size, Cardi B size, Megan Thee Stallion size, but who paid Zeke? Why is Zeke counting for over 8% of the damn salary cap in 2022? Whose fault is that?
Thank you.
Dak accounted for 8.9% of the salary cap in 2022, and Zeke was 8.3%. Why the hell is he even close to Dak Prescott in that situation? You shouldn't even be close to him.
Because he jumped the line.
Boom.
He
Exactly.
jumped the line.
And that's a Jerry Jones issue.
Exactly.
And the Jalen Smith contract.
Where's Catboy?
Yeah.
Was he not talking to him before then?
Dude, you're overpaying for linebackers and running backs. Don't blame that on Dak and his contract.
Exactly.
Dak is getting what he deserves.
Exactly. That's what the market dictated for Dak. You gave Zeke the money before he deserved it. You gave Jalen Smith the money because you thought he was going to be the guy, and he ended up leaving you because you cut him because he wasn't good enough anymore, period. Even when he went to New York this past season, if you go back and watch the games, he was out there. Nobody remembered that. Jalen Smith was playing for the New York Giants.
Yeah, saw that.
Never one time did anybody say, hey, man, former Dallas Cowboy Jalen Smith is out there playing against them. It wasn't even part of the discussion. You know why? Because he shouldn't have gotten that money either. But when you look at the quarterback position, and we've seen it over and over and over again, the market dictated that you had to pay that. Do you think Geno Smith, even though he had a great year, do you think he's warranted that money?
Derek Carr.
Derek Carr.
He's going to get 30.
That's what I'm saying. But the market said it, and that's why it drives me nuts when people always say, Dak did this, Dak did that. No. Dak got what he deserved, what the market was saying, and Jerry and them decided to pay him. You know what Jerry's problem was? They could have got him the contract earlier. And it would have been a lot less. Mm-hmm. But they waited. And then what happened? The market dictated. That's why the Ravens, they're sitting there. They're going to have egg on their face because they didn't jump on him when he got the MVP. The money would have been different. He had just gotten the MVP in the one position that is hard to figure out. And Rod, you say it every single day. The quarterback position is the one that no one seems to get right 90% of the time.
It's not that nobody gets it right. They just don't know what the hell they're doing. So you can get it right, but you didn't do it because of your skilled evaluators. You did it because you lucked out. Then most of that court, but you can help your luck. You actually can make your own luck, but you got to draft more quarterbacks and bring in more quarterbacks.
Absolutely.
That's the discussion. But to your point, you're around the money. No question about it. Jerry Jones is basically asking us to He's basically asking us to blame the shortcomings of the Cowboys on Dak Prescott's contract rather than the ineptitude and dysfunction of the front office and their decisions.
I don't think he's just talking to us either.
We're bizarro world right now.
I think he's talking to Dak and Dak's agent too.
Oh, for the future one.
Because right now they're discussing it because they need cap relief. So I'm sure they've already started preliminary conversations about if they were to extend him, what would those numbers look like? And I bet those numbers were not what Jerry wanted to see. So he's saying, well, if I pay you this much, then I can't get you anybody else. We're going to have to go with all undrafted free agent wide receivers and running. I can't pay a single other person on my roster.
It is a strange message. You're right. I agree. It's a good point. He could be just not only to the gaslighting the fans, but also a kind of a hidden message to the agent and to Dak, like, hey, I need y'all to do that Patrick Mahomes deal where we get you for 8, 9, 10 years, and then we get to stretch it out.
Well, but I don't think if we know that, he also named off Tom Brady, who took pay cuts.
Right.
I think all this is a message to Dak at a point, too, of him saying, hey, you want to be great? Then take a lot less money, and then I can go get you a bunch of other toys.
Man, but
that's not the way it works, but that's the way Jerry wants it to work.
That's a good point. But when Jerry had the discounted quarterback, you didn't go win a Super Bowl with him. You didn't even get past the divisional round with him. Dak, in 2016, Dak, your starting quarterback, accounted for 0.3% of your salary cap. In 2017, 0.4% of your salary cap. In 2018, 0.4% of your salary cap. In 2019, 1.1% of your salary cap. Hell, in 2021, he was still pretty damn cheap. He was only 8.2% of your salary cap. And you want me to believe now the fact that you got to pay Dak what he's earned? That's the reason now you can't get over the hump all of a sudden when you had the cheapest starting quarterback in the NFL for 4 years? That's your window, Jerry. That's your window.
And
you missed it.
And you paid Tony Romo with a broken back more money than what he was deserved at that time after he knew he had the injuries. That's the part about it. Dak at least didn't have injuries at that point. That offense in that time where Dak, like you said, a happy accident, Viagra, when that happened, that team was constructed for Tony Romo. They were like, we're going to give him the best opportunity. This is it. We're going to pay him, and then we're going to be able to move on from him. But the thing that continues to stand out to me is each year, the salary cap moves. It goes up and up and up. And that is why people were so upset last year when you didn't let it play out with Amari Cooper, because that wouldn't have even affected your salary cap at all.
Nope.
And you still would have had your quality wide receiver with your quarterback whose contract really didn't kick in until this year. You still would have been good. But nope, miscalculated the market, went out there and said the wide receiver position is not the position that's going to get this money, and then everybody in the NFL paid for a top-flight wide receiver like it was nothing.
Also, we don't want to hear it because we've seen what every other team can do.
Exactly.
Like, that's the other part. So I think all this is, I think part of it is to gaslight Cowboys fans because Jerry Jones just likes to do it and does it naturally without thinking.
He does.
But when you listen to all the stuff he says, it seems like he's also kind of shooting a shot like, hey, Dak, we need salary cap relief. You're the guy. We think you didn't earn your contract last year. So I think you need to take less money. That's not how business works. That's not how anything works. But that's how cheap billionaires try and treat people. And so I think that's where he was just like, you know what? I'm going to try and push this over, and maybe we can get a deal where I'll let Dak be our quarterback, and then he'll take a pay cut. And then, you know what? Even if we're not winning, I can make a move every year and keep fans happy, and it will just be okay. And I'm fine with that because I like being in the middle.
He loves being in the middle. God, that's what he says.
So, yeah, I mean, it's frustrating because you see it in all the statements. He's trying to be complimentary, but then he's also saying, hey, the market value, which every single one of these other teams that's not on a rookie contract is paying. Patrick Mahomes is got $100 million deal, and they're still out there competing for Super Bowls. They won a Super Bowl, so it's clearly not a problem. They did have to get rid of Tyreek Hill. They still have Travis Kelce.
Yeah, yep. But then the court, then Aaron Guitar Matt, his point would kick in. He said, "You said Dak earned it. That's the issue. He hasn't played good enough for the money. He's only getting paid that much because of the market, not because of how good he is." I don't disagree with that, but the market is what the market is.
Exactly.
If you are the starting quarterback, you are the franchise quarterback for a team up for a contract, you get that money. I didn't don't hate the play, hate the game.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying.
Man, you may not be a fan of eggs. They cost what they cost.
Yeah. Inflation.
Yeah.
Hey man, if there's
If
a
they
shortage,
hitting, they hitting.
there's a shortage of eggs. Hey man, gas is. We feel like there's a shortage of gas. Gas goes up. It's just that's the market. That is what it is. We can all disagree with it.
Daniel Jones about to get how much? Probably $38-some million.
Oh, Daniel Jones about to get paid.
He's about to get paid. Any of us believe?
Unless the Giants take my advice and supersize.
I like your supersize idea.
want to
The Lamar
supersize.
Jackson move
Yeah,
you talked
supersize
about last Friday. You talked about just trade for Lamar Jackson, which this is the thing. So tomorrow we get that Lamar Jackson news about
Yes.
whether he's going to be tagged. Oh, he will be tagged, whether you get the exclusive tag or the non-exclusive tag. There is talk at the Combine he might get the non-exclusive tag. That the Ravens might be willing to pay him the non-exclusive tag and then allow him to negotiate with the teams. There is a belief, and maybe it's collusion, that it's a game of chicken going on. They basically, I think, are going to bank on there not being enough teams to offer him the guaranteed deal he wants.
Yeah.
And I think he's banking on, there will be a team, and I think there will be a team.
Oh, there'll be a team.
And even if it's not, I think he's sabotaging the relationship. I think at this point he wants out.
Yeah.
Irregardless of him getting a guaranteed deal somewhere else.
That would be amazing if they do that.
I don't think they'll do it.
No.
Because you
can still, if you were to franchise tag him, you have until I believe July 15th is when contract extensions on a franchise tag are you still able to be done. So you're still able to talk contract extension. You can't trade him unless he signs the tender. Once he signs the tender, he can be traded. So If a new contract is worked out before July 15th, he should be able to be traded, sign the tender, get traded, and then sign an extension with the new team.
Yeah.
That should all be possible. I don't know the exact replication, like the exact wording of it, but that's the way I've read it.
Don't forget he's representing himself.
Yeah,
So this could all blow up very quickly.
It could.
Because his feelings will get
Because he's
in the way.
representing
That's
his
right.
damn self.
That's right.
we all
Which
agree,
also means
first mistake.
Which also means trade calls, anything else have to be done by him.
Oh no! Oh, that is very interesting. That he's probably making calls himself to trade.
He has to. He's the guy.
Oh man, fascinating. So I can't wait. Yeah, tomorrow we will learn more clarity on the Lamar Jackson saga. All right, more clarity on what Steve Sarkisian said that got Longhorns all amped up. They're a little upset about this statement from Steve Sarkisian. We'll talk about it on the side. And I have two theories as to why Steve Sarkisian is being so forthcoming with this information. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie. 104.9 The Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about my friend, Dr. Greg Eckert, because he's your friend, too. If you have any concerns about your dental health or hygiene, there's only one person you need to call. That is Dr. Greg Eckert. It doesn't matter what your concerns are. Maybe you have concern about your dental anxiety. They specialize in easing dental anxiety. Also, general dentistry, teeth whitening, dentures, porcelain crowns, veneers, dental implants, full mouth reconstruction, even root canal therapy. Whatever it takes to ensure you're getting the best quality dental care available, that's what Dr. Greg Eckert and his fantastic team are all about. First time I got a chance to meet Dr. Greg Eckert, great experience. But I sat down and I saw a woman come out of one of the rooms, and she was crying. And I thought to myself, all right, this is going to be a miserable experience. Turns out she was crying tears of joy because Dr. Greg Eckert had given her the smile she had always wanted. She had never seen her smile look so beautiful. She looked in the mirror and started crying. Came out, told us about her experience, and we all kind of started crying too. But anyway, Dr. Greg Eckert can help you out. He can give you the smile you always wanted. He can give you a brand new smile in just one day, permanently secured to your dental implants. No time spent without teeth. You get temporary fixtures and say complete your permanent smile, and you'll smile again with confidence and eat freely without pain or discomfort. We're talking about a lifelike permanent solution. So if you've been told your teeth need to be replaced, call Dr. Greg Eckert today to learn about this revolutionary alternative to dentures. We're talking about a brand new smile in just one day. Call today for a complimentary consultation. You got nothing to lose but everything to gain. 512-345-3166, 512-345-3166, or visit dreckert.com, DRUECKERT.com. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Steve Sarkisian had a media availability today, spoke with the media after the first spring football practice for Texas football, and he made some comments about Xavier Worthy. Just basically, I think he was just talking about how much he really enjoyed having Xavier Worthy back with the football team, and that was the key there, back with the football team. And he actually went on to describe why Xavier Worthy was away from the football team. Here's Steve Sarkisian. Okay, so Sark basically admitting that Xavier Worthy had an injury to his hand. We know from some of the pictures, thanks to you guys on the Specs text line, that it was a right hand injury, because even on his Instagram, put out a couple of photos with a cast on his right hand. And Sark said he had the cast for around 8 weeks, something like that. He's had a cast on it. It was not divulged exactly when during the season that Xavier Worthy hurt his hand, so we don't know exactly when it is. But we do know that most of the season, and hell, even late in the season, Texas force-fed the football to Xavier Worthy. And Xavier Worthy's drop rates increased exponentially. He was dropping key passes. We're talking about even on third down. And the problem that I have is that depending on the severity of the injury, which, we still don't really know how severe it was. He could play through it, but Xavier Worthy was being schemed specifically and targeted on certain concepts, even on money downs. We're talking about third down. And I do wonder if you're Sark and you knew that he was hurting, and you also, and we watched Texas force feed the football to Xavier Worthy, even in double teams, being double teamed by the opponent.
Yep.
We got to get the football to Xavier Worthy. And now we know, on top of them throwing into double teams to get the ball to what they think is their best playmaker in the passing game, and I don't disagree with that, but they also were throwing to an injured player too. And so I have two kind of random theories about it, because someone texted me and said, why would Sark even say this? Like, what's the reason? What's the reason for Sark revealing this information? It was unsolicited. He could have just given this to Chip Brown or Anwar Richardson and they had been done with it. They would have leaked it and we'd have been done. All right? He didn't have to necessarily address it.
And then people would have been like, no wonder.
Then maybe he gets asked about it, but I think it's a little easier for him to move on. I think the reason he brings it up, this is my theory. This is Rod B's theory. I think he brings it up because did Sark, I don't know when he either went to the combine or hung around coaches. I believe this week, considering that the NFL Pro Day coming up too, I believe he's talked to some NFL coaches. Don't know how, in person, over the phone, whatever. I think he's an NFL guy too. Mm-hmm. He's talked to some NFL coaches, and they're talking a lot about prospects now, about players coming out. What do you think about my guy? I like your guy. I think he's great. And then inevitably, they start talking about the guys who are still on campus.
Right.
Because a lot of these coaches, when they go to Pro Day, they're going to go to practice too. They're going to go watch the Texas players. They go to one practice, like, I might as well watch a practice so I can see J.T. Sanders or Kelvin Banks. See these guys that's coming up. Get a little
preview.
Start. Get a little jump start
preview
on my evaluations. And I think he got some negative reviews about Xavier Worthy from probably more than one NFL scout. And I bet he said, I had to tell them. Right. Oh, he broke his hand. Like, oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, he broke his hand. That was the reason for the regression. And I think he came out publicly to advocate for Xavier Worthy, to let everybody know, no, the reason for the regression, which was obvious to everybody, he regressed, was the broken hand. That's the reason for the regression, which makes sense and tracks. My question as a football theorist would be, well, why didn't the offense change? Why didn't the passing game transition to weaponize and highlight a Jay Witt more or JT Sanders more, other Bijan Robinson in the passing game rather than force feeding the football in double coverage to a player with a hurt hand. And another theory I got. So I think he was talking to the scouts too, not just you fans, to the scouts as well. Like, hey, this is why this guy regressed. He's going to be great once he's healthy. Mm-hmm. And number two, as to why would Sark continue to throw the ball in double coverage to a player with a hurt hand? This is a theory. Just a theory. Could be off about this. There have been several reports of Xavier Worthy thinking about, going where the grass may be greener. Other schools wooing him. He's even admitted this, that schools offered him cash, all right, via the transfer portal in the NIL world to come play for them rather than play for Texas. Listen, I know nobody wants to admit it because it's a shady world now, the NIL transfer world. But the truth is, if Xavier Worthy threatened to leave Texas, I mean, what is Sark going to do other than give him his targets? Just saying. I'm not, like I said, it could give me a better reason other than why you force feed the football in double coverage to a guy with a hurt hand. Just saying. Like, that's the world that we live in. I'm not saying that that's my theory as to why. I got to find a better reason as to why we're forcing it. Instead of giving Jay Witt more reps and snaps and targets, instead of giving JT Sanders more targets, instead of giving Bijan more targets in the passing game, we're going to force feed the football to Xavier Worthy, who's great, and I love Xavier Worthy, but to a guy with a hurt hand in double coverage, hey, man, I got to keep that guy happy because he ain't happy. And y'all all know there's been a lot of whispers that he ain't been happy. He may want to be gone. And if he want to be gone, then you got to make sure that you make the necessary adjustments with your scheme. That may be the only thing I can think of as to why it would be going down that way.
Man, there's so much to unpack on that last part for the University of Texas, if that's the case. If that is the case, and, I mean, you and I know the real deals, and most of the time we hear whispers as well, and we've had some good authority on some situations that we're just sitting here, but I just don't see how the University of Texas's program goes to that point, because it costs you ball games, and that's the thing that is hard to stomach. Because if that is the case, and that's the security, let's go back to the security part of it. Maybe Coach Sark is secure in the fact of not worried about the winning and the losing. He saw the improvement of 8 games. Still need to know when the injury occurred, number one. Number two, you start looking at this and you're saying that the organization and the university is being held hostage by one player?
It's a theory.
No. I'm not saying you.
It's a theory.
I'm just saying in this theory.
It's a theory.
And it's a frustrating type of theory because I never thought that this university, if this theory is true, would ever have to resort to that. It's not a quarterback. It's a wide receiver. You can get other ones. You can recruit. You're supposed to be able to draw up offenses regardless.
To be fair, you can't even find a third wide receiver this year.
But again, this is the University of Texas.
I just put it out there. I'm just saying,
you're supposed to be not a mastermind. I don't want to give them a mastermind, but you're supposed to be an offensive type of mindset that you should be able to scheme anybody open.
To be fair, he was schemed open a lot. He just dropped them. So,
but also double coverage. But there's somebody's open. There's other guys. Why don't you, if he's got a broken hand, let's go somewhere else because the risk reward is not there.
That's what I'm saying. Somebody give me a better theory. Somebody, please, give me a better theory as to why we are throwing to X-Man in double coverage continuously. We all came on this damn show and said, why are we force-feeding the football to X-Men? If they're double-teaming him, football is a numbers game. Somebody's open. Somebody's in man-to-man coverage if they're double-teaming him, and they did it consistently.
Right.
Okay, so if they're force-feeding the football to him, which they did, all right, and now we know, on top of that, we have information that he was hurt too, so he wasn't even entirely healthy, which makes perfect sense when we watch him not being able to play through contact, when we watch him dropping footballs that are easily for him to catch. So my point is, give me a better theory than mine. That's what I want. I don't want my theory to be right. That'd be a ridiculous theory.
Yeah,
Give me a better one then as to why we are force-feeding the football in games, all right, to X-Man who is hurt and also being double covered. Give me one, please, somebody.
And the other part of this was that was unsolicited. We didn't need to know that.
And I just told you why, because he talks to some NFL scouts.
But
and
I'm
said,
saying just
X-Man, he's on our radar right now because I got to tell you, his film it was gross last year. And he said, no, he was hurt, man. And they were like, oh, I didn't know that. And he talked to another scout who said the same thing. He said, oh, man, I didn't know. So you guys don't know he was hurt. I need to spread that information because nobody knows.
But
And
even
so he
then,
put
you
it out
told a
there.
couple scouts, and those other scouts can keep that to themselves, and that way they're the ones that are still coming
It's
here.
also the court of public opinion that he also needs his player,
I feel you.
Xavier Worthy.
I feel you on
He
it.
needs him also to be found, obviously not guilty, but
Yeah,
he
yeah, I know what you're
needs
saying.
him to kind of walk through the raindrops. He got criticized a lot on social media last year too.
Then
So
he should have. Then he should have been able to bounce that off of us at the end of the season. Why now? Your last press conference, all of that stuff.
Because he just found out the stock of Xavier Worthy is dropping, and he's got to advocate for Xavier Worthy. Just found out this is scouting season, so he's talking to scouts who are saying, no, he's not. No, he's not that high on our radar, man. He had a really bad year. He's like, oh, you guys don't know. I need to tell everybody. It's no theory. This guy was hurt last year. That's why he regressed.
at the farewell
So I'm talking to
press
scouts
conference,
and I'm talking to fans.
at
Get
the
off my
last
guy.
press conference at the bowl game, everybody was eating him alive on social media.
They were.
Everybody was eating him alive in the court of public opinion. Why couldn't you, at the end of that, because he did drop passes in the bowl game.
He did.
He was wide open on a couple passes where they were critical passes. Why couldn't you say, hey, guys, I just want y'all to know right now, regardless of if it's the scouts or whatever it was, the scouts listen to that too because they've been watching everything that we've been watching.
Because
Why
if
couldn't you give it
If
then?
it comes out, then it's more of an excuse. You lost the game.
We still got an excuse now because
No,
of
no,
what
no,
happened
no.
with
If
the
you come out,
drops.
if immediately after that game you come out and be like, hey guys, Xavier Worthy's hurt. Because one of the big storylines of losing that game was what? The regression and the performance of Xavier Worthy. You come out right after that game. Now, only two things. It sounds like you're blaming Xavier Worthy, and who won't like that? Who won't like that? Who won't like that? Xavier Worthy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see what you're
there's a
saying
lot of
as
this
far as,
exactly,
again, we're
exactly.
still holding it up
Exactly.
again. We're being
If you-
held hostage again.
If you come out immediately after that game and say, man, Xavier Worthy's hurt, guys, that's why he had this performance. First of all, it seems like you're blaming Xavier Worthy for the loss, which that wouldn't sit well with me anyway.
But if there was a question
but
that was asked, if there was a question about
I don't remember if it was a question.
that's what I'm saying. If there was,
my point
he
was
had an
that
out.
if he says it right after, it sounds like an excuse. It also sounds like you're blaming Xavier Worthy. Now, it's not an excuse, and you're not blaming Xavier Worthy. He said, I'm glad to have him back.
Yeah.
And then he divulged all this information.
Yeah.
Those are just my theories. Give me better theories. And I will grow with the better theories. Because I don't like my theories. They don't make me feel good, but they make more sense
Right.
than any other theories I've heard.
Right. I agree. But to me, looking on this side, there was an opportunity, and no, you didn't have to make it as you were blaming him. I'm sure that there was a question that, hey, man, what's kind of going on with X-Man? Because there were questions that were being asked throughout the season as well.
Agreed.
And even at the end of the season, when you're headed into a bowl game, because you kept featuring him during the bowl game, why not say, hey, just so y'all know, we took it on the chin tonight, but X has been dealing with this for quite some time. He's been battling all season. Because then we'll say, oh, this dude has been tough all year. Oh, this dude has been doing this. Okay, now it explains a lot of things that happened throughout the season because it was very uncharacteristic of the way that we saw this young man perform as a true freshman. He still put up decent numbers this year. I mean, he did some great things, and we all saw it. But when did this occur? How did this occur? Is there some things that we needed to know about it? And then the question, he could have defended himself because I know somebody would have said, then why are you throwing to him in double coverage in this situation when you know that he doesn't have the hand strength to be able to do so? So that would be my only question, because I don't think anybody would have looked at it as an excuse. We would have been more sympathetic because dude was getting roasted by the court of public opinion.
But like I said, I think we as a fan base would not have been ready to receive it that way.
I agree.
We were upset.
already mad.
We were
already.
angry that he lost that game, that he had a chance to win that game. And once again, Coach Steven showed up instead of Coach Sark in key moments. And we were upset about that. And I think we'd have just lashed out. He'd have said that, and we'd have been like, man, that's an excuse.
Yeah.
You're making excuses again. And then we went back to, well, why the hell are you force-feeding him the football then?
Yep.
So Either way, we could come back to a very inconvenient, unfortunate truth.
No doubt.
Which is, I just think Sark made a miscalculation. Sorry, Coach Steven made a miscalculation. He did. He should have changed the offense slightly to try to highlight other players in the passing game.
Like a Bijan Robinson.
Like a JT Sanders.
Like a
Jay
JT.
Witt.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's all. All right.
Yeah.
We'll come back. We got off the
Great
record.
discussion.
On the other side. Yes, good stuff there. We come back. We'll get into off the record right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. I wanted to get to off the record, but we don't have enough time to jump to off the record. So we'll just kind of continue our conversation. I was reading a quote, or at least a quote from Sark's media availability from C.J. Vogel. He put it out there, so I'll give him credit. But it's a transcript of the interview, or at least a few questions and answers. And in the last part of it, when Sark's being asked about why he wasn't more transparent about the injury, he said, because I don't have to tell you that. The question was, okay, I understand, but Xavier Worthy clearly had a year that people were questioning kind of what was going on. This would have been a pretty big development. And Sark said, quote, and our opponents would have known too. So we have a lot of injuries that can occur on our team that may not keep a player out of games that we don't disclose. He said to protect the player and to protect the program. And the question retort to that was, in hindsight, do you wish you played somebody else over X-Man? He said, quote, I felt like he was the best option. Yeah, he was the best option to play, no question. But to target gratuitously, that would be the question.
Gosh, man, I'm just. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no, it's got people worked up. Like I said, there was no reason for Sark to relay this information. There was no reason for him to be this forthcoming. That's where my conspiracy theory starts. Otherwise, why tell anybody unless he just was feeling that excited and he just. My thing was, I think Sark's smarter than that. Sark had a purpose behind revealing this information, and I'm just trying to get to what the purpose was behind him revealing the information. But. Yeah, I think he should just gave it to Chip Brown or Anwar Richardson or somebody like that.
Right. Whoever,
just give it to one of those guys.
Give it to them.
Give it to Joe Cook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let them guys break it, and that's how you.
Bobby Burton, somebody.
Give it to Bobby Burton. That's how you operate these days. You operate like that. You give it to one of those guys. You let them break it.
Do me a solid.
Yeah. And then you get asked about it, and then you go, yeah, but it was no big deal, and you can move on.
Right.
But now, straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah. And everybody's like, huh?
We've been waiting on a football story.
You're like, huh?
Yeah. So, like I said, I can't wait to find out more information about it because I know the great media entities and all the great folks that cover the Texas football program are now diving into it. So we'll have some more details about it. And also we'll hear from Sark tomorrow. We'll have actual audio from the Steve Sarkisian media availability.
Mm-hmm.
But
you might be able to hear it for yourself.
You'll hear it for yourself. But a little Steven in there too. I think that was Steven that we played for you. But Sark was most of the media availability. We come back. We'll play a cut about Jerry Jones. Oh, this is the gaslighting clip because he's actually comparing Dak Prescott and Dak Prescott's impact potentially to the impact that Tom Brady made with the Patriots. Woo! Yes, that is real. We'll come back. We'll discuss that and the Longhorns at the Combine. We'll talk about how they performed. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Got some Longhorn Combine items that we'll get to here in this segment. Also, Jerry Jones commenting on Dak Prescott at the NFL Combine. We'll get back to that conversation. And there's some other NFL news, notes, and nuggets that we'll hit as well, including Derek Carr to the Saints. But first, this little story popped up across my feed, and my man CB sent it to me as well. I just saw that via Twitter. That it is being reported by ESPN, and I don't know if this is breaking news or not, that Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning will be in competition for the Texas quarterback job. First day of spring, we got this nugget dropped already. Already happened. Said after Texas Longhorns' first practice, Coach Steve Sarkisian said on Monday that all positions are up for grabs, including quarterback, where sophomore Quinn Ewers and freshman Arch Manning will compete for the starting job. What say you, Harge? I think that's actually a smart move. I mean, I know it may not be, I don't think it's a literal, like, actual open job, but I think he wants the mentality that everybody competes for every job every offseason. Yeah, that's the mentality. That your job is always on line. When I was playing, that's how we felt, that you could lose your job at any time. A lot of guys did lose their job. I always had that fear that I was going to lose my damn job to a Nathan Vasher or a Michael Huff or, a Cedric Griffin, one of them youngsters. So it just kept me working and kept you in the mindset, a almost obsessive mindset to get better. Not only to do it till you get it right, but to do it till you never get it wrong. So I understand the mentality. Do we think it is a literal translation of being an open competition for the quarterback job?
Look. Here's the biggest part of this for me. Adam Schefter even tweeted this out today. Now that is getting a little too much, and Sark already told us this at the end of the season last year. Every job is up for grabs, even the quarterback. Everybody just looked at him like, even the quarterback. And he was like, even the quarterback position. Everybody's got to come in and compete and all this stuff. Okay, Sark, you got it. But you can say all that in the locker room. We all know. I know exactly how I'm feeling. If I'm, like you said, Rod, if I walk out there, I got a shot. And I'm going to go out there and compete. I'm going to make the job so hard for you. Mm-hmm. And I understand pressure. But I put pressure on myself, as does Quinn. You think Quinn was happy with his performance? No. Because he, too, was getting smoked.
He cut the mullet off.
Everybody. Yes.
Yeah, he cut the mullet off.
When he got the fade. He got the fade. Came out with a TikTok talking about how light-skinned wide receivers run and work out because he had the fade. I dig it. And the guy understands there's some things that he's a competitor, too. He wants to be better. He knows he's going to get better, and he knew everybody that was coming in. Everybody was talking about Malik Murphy. I thought he was going to get a shot at the Alamo Bowl. He didn't get a chance to play, just like Jaden Blue didn't get a chance to play. So there were times that everybody was sitting here thinking that, but okay, that was the conversation. Maybe he was asked how the quarterback position was, what's it going to look like. Oh, yeah, everybody's competing. Okay, I would expect everybody to go out there and compete for a job. The biggest part about this is at least Texas now has depth at every position where they can actually have a competition. Guys can't rest on their laurels anymore. You got to go out there and put in the work immediately. And that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, I do think if Quinn had a more consistent season last year and he progressed, on a more linear trajectory as a player, and it wasn't so inconsistent, and which probably we expected because it was his first year playing football in like a year and a half, and he's a freshman, so we get that. But I think if he had a more consistent year, then Sark may be willing to go, this is Quinn Ewers' job. But the truth is, as I always said, quarterback competitions are they're elections. It's like an election in the locker room.
Popularity, right?
And all the players and the coaches and administrators, everybody pretty much has a vote behind the burnt orange curtain there on who's going to win the quarterback job. And I think last season, I don't necessarily think Quinn Ewers won the job beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
I think there are still some people in the locker room like, I guess he's the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, if we need a guy, he's the guy. But I think he made
That's what we rolling with? That's what we rolling with?
Because one thing you don't want, since quarterback competition is an election, you don't want a contested election.
Right.
You don't want the locker room, half the locker room going,
no hanging chats.
I got one, I got one. It's like, whoa. We need to all be united behind one leader at a natural leadership position like quarterback. You don't need that. Yeah. And I think he's trying to potentially avoid that. And the way you avoid that is let everybody see the results of the election. Let everybody see the results of the competition. All right? If it's open competition, then the players will know who won the damn job. They'll know.
Right.
Oh, that guy won the job. No question. This guy won a job. Let everybody see it. I think that's why he's also making an open competition. We want everybody to see who wins it. Now, if Quinn can't win the job in the offseason and Arch Manning, and also another reason to keep Arch Manning invested, you get a big prospect like that. I went through the same thing with Chris Sims. It's often an open quarterback competition.
Yeah.
When you get a celebrity quarterback in, which Sims was and then Arch Manning is, it's open competition.
Yeah.
Because you're probably not going to get that guy, especially today, if they're not involved in an open competition of some sort. Now, do they need to win the competition? Not necessarily. They're freshmen,
No.
but they want to compete. Like Hart just said, everybody wants to compete.
Exactly.
Everybody wants to go out there with the belief that I can go win me a job today. I'm going here to win a job today.
That's why I'm here.
And if you ain't got that mentality, if you don't have that echoed all throughout your program, your culture, there is a complacency that can set in. So when I played at Texas, we practiced against the best players probably that we could every day because the practices were harder than the games most of the time. Oklahoma and bowl games, Big 12 title game, they'll be different. But most of the time when I played, the practices were harder than the games. So we were playing up and practicing against first round type talent. Mm-hmm. That's where Sark is trying to get the roster, where their practices are tougher than the actual games.
And that's what we all want because what do you always say? Every day you was iron sharpening iron. You going against Roy Williams. You going up against B.J. Johnson and Sloan Tom. Y'all were in there putting in that work because you wanted to be great. And that is how you build that depth. They were getting depth and quality reps and going up and competing against each other. I love the fact that Texas is this deep right now.
They are deep.
That is the beautiful part about it because everything has been reloaded. Right? So now what happens next? You get on the field, you go put in the work, and now you got an opportunity to go in there and master the craft. You're never going to be perfect, but you're going to give yourself an opportunity to win a lot of ball games, and that is the most important part. So if they want to put it out there, yes, there's going to be a quarterback competition, and that was part of the selling point. I'm sure Arch was like, I don't even care because I'm going to go compete. We don't just make sure I get quality reps and I get an opportunity to have them reps and everything will fall into place. And Quinn's like, cool, I want to compete against somebody like that.
He needs to.
Now it's like-minded. Let's go get it.
Yeah,
Let's go get it.
And you need, I say it also, because Malik's dealing with an injury too. Malik Murphy, right?
Yeah, he's still dealing with his ankle
unfortunately,
injury.
man.
Yeah.
So that's like knocking on wood. Hope everything works out for the young man. But just looking at roster construction going into the season with Malik Murphy having the injury, I mean, Arch Manning, your insurance policy for your backup quarterback position. Whether your quarterback is struggling or whether your quarterback ends up with an injury, knock on wood, which both happened to Quinn last year.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, yeah, you got to get that guy ready to go. So that's a story out there, but Hart is right. Sark said that last season, and I thought it was at the end of last season, I thought it was the right move by Sark to open up that competition. The left tackle position, probably the only position that's not open at all. Yeah, no left tackle. No. And no, and you're not taking X-Man's position either. We know he loves X-Man.
We noticed that.
X-Man, left tackle. You're not taking those positions.
Yeah,
those guys are. And Jalen Ford.
Oh, for sure.
Also not open.
Yeah, that's not open for discussion.
Not open. Yeah,
everything else, have at it.
Yeah, I think everything else have at it. I'm pretty close.
Except for J.T. Sanders.
Yes, J.T. Sanders also not open.
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't say it's not when he says open for competition. He's not being literal about every position.
He says open for competition because I expect you to come out here and work hard.
Yeah, pretty
that's
much.
Exactly
but
what
if
it
you're
is.
a backup tight end, you just don't be no backup tight end. You'll get a lot of reps, but you ain't surpassing J.T. Sanders.
No doubt.
And everybody, big things expected out of him this spring as well. All right, we'll come back to some Longhorn football. Let's transition to the NFL here. Let's talk about the Longhorns at the Combine, gentlemen. And first, we talked about obviously the big boys, Keandre Colburn, DeMarvion and Overshown, Moro Ojomo last week, and got into those guys. And Hodge, I don't know if we got your thoughts about DeMarvion and Overshown. I think you were gone by then.
I was.
You were gone by then. All right, so what are your thoughts about Overshown, who also performed pretty well? I can pull his numbers up for you, too.
I got him.
You got him? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we got your thoughts about Overshown. Give me your thoughts about Overshown before we get into Bijan and Rojo and how they perform.
You obviously know I'm a big fan of DeMarvion Overshown. I love the way he goes about it. I thought his running ability showed well. I thought that he had a good showing vertically. He's a guy that I'm looking at the Cowboys, and I know he's had conversation with the Cowboys, But I'm looking at him to be that kind of guy. I'm looking at him to kind of be at that perfect spot where they can get him in maybe the third or fourth round, because a lot of people are sleeping on him and they forget this dude was so athletic. He was a safety. He was a safety when he came to the University of Texas. He ran a 4.56, a 1.59 in his 10-yard split, and he broad jumped 10.4. That's some explosiveness. Now, he does have to get that bench press up, but he's playing. You might be able to make him play that strong safety, that rover position. You know, he only did 15 on the bench press, and some people may say, well, he may not be that strong. All he's got to do is be able to move people from side to side and be able to run laterally. That's it.
Yeah, his play strength, I guess, would be a criticism.
Right.
And then maybe the critique would be that the low bench press, it shows you that he doesn't take on blocks really well.
Right.
And may not use, power in terms of shedding blocks. But I'm with you. That's a technique issue. You can teach that.
Yeah.
And he can get stronger. I mean,
not only that, his quickness will go through people. Like you may underestimate his long stride, and he'll catch you under the chin.
Got long
He'll
arms.
he'll be able to keep people off of him. Mm-hmm. So I'm definitely at that point where I think that he is that guy that can make a huge splash, pending on the right defense, though. He has to be in the right defense. We were talking about the bowl game. We noticed when he was out in the bowl game.
It did. Yeah.
It was a
obvious.
huge factor in why they were able to run the ball and throw the ball as well as they were, because he wasn't on the field. We get that. But now you sit here and look at what he can do at the next level. I think he's going to be an important part for whatever team he gets to.
Yeah, Cowboys probably won't draft him, but they were interested in DeMarvion Overshown mostly because Dan Quinn's positionless football philosophy. Mm-hmm. It really does fit DeMarvion Overshown. So I totally agree with you, Harsh, that the fit is going to be really important. If you can get a scheme that really can weaponize the hybridized skill set of a DeMarvion Overshown, watch out. And the guy's been playing linebacker for 3 years.
No doubt.
I mean, he's got a tremendous upside because he hadn't been playing the position very long either. Okay, getting back to the running backs, the ones who performed this past weekend, Bijan, he did everything he needed to do. Bijan's 40 was a 4.46, was his final 40 time with a 1.52 10-yard split. That's all he really needed to do, Harge. I did. And he had 37-inch vertical, too, throw it out there, and a 10.4 broad jump, throw that out there as well.
Yep.
But he did not hurt himself. I don't know if he helped himself, but I don't know how much he could have helped himself because he was already considered to be the consensus top running back in the draft. Hands down, there was no debate about it. What he needed to do was, which was actually, I think, a tough thing to do, meet expectations and run a time and at least run, or at least sometimes, and test with times they believe are worthy of a first-round athletic grade. And I think he definitely showed first-round grade athleticism overall.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, the one thing that I loved about how Bijan performed was the way that he looked in his running of routes. Now, we all know that he can catch the ball. We know he's got great hands. But his form and his tightness, and when I say tight, not physically tight, but the form was so beautiful that he was in and out of his cuts, and he was able to just grab the ball like it was a pillow on his hands and turn up the field. And I know it's shirts and shorts, but it looked good. And that's, if you're going to be there, you might as well look good. And that's exactly what he did. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he ran a 4.47 stumbling out of the blocks, I would have loved to see what he would run if it was clean. Because if he stumbled and had to get himself, and if you go back and look at it, he also zigzagged a little bit. He wasn't even straight line.
This is the second or the first?
The first one.
Okay.
Yeah, and in the second one, he ran a 4.46. So he's right in that area where he needs to be. And again, I'm not looking at him to be a burner. Dude's a football player, and he's a playmaker, and he is going to be, as you like to say, somebody's X factor at some point. Because he does so many good things. Yeah,
I can't wait to see who drafts Bijan and what the justification is, because, we all know that they say that it is a kind of a draft day rule. Right? You have a draft day rule that you don't draft running backs really high in the NFL draft, which means I think you don't draft them in the lottery, top 14, top 15 picks. But if a team sees Bijan as the best value at that slot, hell, they could go it. And there are probably 7-8 teams that really could justify taking Bijan even in the top 15 or even outside of that, I mean, the Eagles and the Bills, their justification will be the same, that a talent like that puts us over the top. We're already right there. Talent like that makes us almost indefensible. Yep. I could see teams like the Ravens doing it just because they love to stockpile running backs, either to help Lamar Jackson or to help you transition from Lamar Jackson.
Right.
Help bridge the gap between, Lamar Jackson moving on to another quarterback. The Cowboys, because if he drops to 26,
got him.
That's the best value in the draft.
Got him.
You get the best running back in the draft at 26, and the Cowboys are notorious for drafting the best at a position in the draft. So I think there are, 5, 6 teams that could easily – Atlanta. You brought up Tennessee.
Tennessee, if they're looking to get off of Derrick Henry, that is the only move you can make right there.
That's about 6, 7 teams, and they all could justify it.
Right.
So I can't even more so than the
because
team that picks him.
do it. You cannot do it if Malik Willis is going to be your quarterback next year.
No,
you can't. You can't get rid of a running back and not get a running back with him as your quarterback. I know Ryan Tannehill is still there, but there's no promises there either.
Yeah, I'm hoping he doesn't go to Tennessee now because they're overhauling.
And they just got rid of Taylor Lewan.
Yeah, they're rebuilding.
Yeah.
They won't say it, but it seems like a rebuild.
Very strong.
I don't want Bijan going to a team that's rebuilding. I want Bijan to go to a team that competes. I'd rather him go to the Cowboys. Honestly, we get to watch them. But so the Cowboys are one of those teams also that is being mentioned in the conversation for Bijan Robinson. All right, more nuggets about the Combine just really quickly because we're talking about Rojo as well because we didn't get into him, but Bijan, I think it's pretty obvious.
Stole the show.
Yeah, Bijan's going to be a first-round pick, and like I said, somebody's going to fall in love with Bijan in the top 10.
Only takes one.
I don't know if they're going to draft him, but there's somebody in love with Bijan in that top 10.
Only takes one.
Exactly. Rojo, though, Rojo didn't test as well as Bijan did, and I don't know if Roschon Johnson necessarily needed to test as well as Bijan, but Rojo's 4.58. 1.52 10-yard split, which I think was right up there with Bijan's actually. His 10-yard split. 31.5-inch vertical, 10-foot 2-inch broad jump for Roschon Johnson. Rojo's a pro. I've said it before. It kind of reminds me of my take on Colin Johnson. I think Colin Johnson was slow 40, and I said I don't know if he's going to test really well just because that's not the type of athlete that he is. But I know when you start training camp and you start running 7-on-7 and team, and you start running routes and doing one-on-ones and man-to-man, that guy's going to make a roster, and he did. I think the same thing about Rojo. He's not going to test well, and I'm sure at Pro Day he'll do more, but when it comes time to play football, that guy's a ball player.
Yeah.
So Rojo's going to make a roster. Hell, I know he's going to make a roster because of practice squad, but I'm talking about he's going to make a 53-man roster. Like he is. I do believe that. I think he's that good of a player.
Me too. I'm a big fan, and I've always have been a big fan. And somebody, no matter who he goes to, he's going to make an impact on that squad. And I think he'll make an immediate impact because of his work ethic and the fact that you said the comp of Chris Ogbonnaya, but dude can get out of the backfield. He can catch passes. He can block. He can do pretty much anything that you ask of the running back, whether he's a first rounder or the last pick in the draft. He is one of those dudes that is going to make an impact on the squad.
Yeah, my man CB sent us this, he sent us this via Twitter. It's from a Texas football page, but it's Daryl Jeremiah. It's a clip of Daryl Jeremiah talking about Rojo and saying, I think he's going to be a starting running back in the league.
Yeah.
So not just a guy that makes the roster. He thinks he can be a starting running back in the league. He's definitely got that kind of ceiling. And, yeah, I mean, I brought up earlier, if people looking for comps for Rojo, and it's tough. But I'm telling you, I really do think physically he reminds me a lot of Chris Ogbonnaya back in the day. Both of them are around 6 foot. Both of them are around 220. Both of them have close to 32-inch hands or right around there. 40-yard dash for Rojo was 4.58, 4.65 for Chris Ogbonnaya. So think of him as a souped-up version of Chris Ogbonnaya. And because I really do. And Chris Ogbonnaya played, 6 years in the league, something. He was drafted in the 7th round. I do think Rojo will drop in this draft because he didn't test extraordinarily well. It was good enough. And it's a deep running back draft.
Right.
So he's going to drop in the draft, but that's exactly what teams want. Teams like the Texans or hell, the Cowboys. Man, you get a guy like that in the 6th or the 7th round, can end up getting starting reps for you potentially. That's value. That's all the draft is about is value. Someone says Rojo to New England. I can see it.
Right.
Yeah, someone says Rojo is Chris Obanaya on steroids. He's a souped-up version of it, but look, he's not testing that well, guys.
No, he didn't.
He's like a super athlete. Chris Obanaya would slap y'all for saying he's like a way better athlete than him. He's not. He's not. He's a great football player. Yeah. We know that because he transitioned from quarterback to running back, but he's not just that much of a better athlete than him. Right. Chris Obanaya had a better vertical.
No,
it's not that different.
I'll tell you, I like Roshan Johnson of the Jets. Pair him with Breece Hall. And you put them as a 1-2 punch.
Yeah,
styles.
Nice.
I like
Who gonna be that quarterback? Who gonna be that quarterback?
We know Aaron Rodgers. You got Aaron Rodgers, your favorite quarterback.
Hey,
yeah,
it might happen. It could happen.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Okay, let's get to we need to get some NBA. Because we haven't talked a ton of NBA, but there was some big games in the NBA over the weekend. The Mavs were involved in arguably the biggest game of the weekend. It was a loss to the Suns, but it did show you that Luka, Kyrie Irving pairing will put them in every game. They'll be in it in clutch time. Just so happened in clutch time, KD and the Suns were able to get the best of the Mavs. We'll talk about that and Ja Morant. We got to have a serious discussion about what's going on with Ja Morant. So we'll start with that and then work our way to the rest of the NBA topics. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Smooth Soul Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie. I'm not going to lie. I was so confused. I thought this was a commercial. I thought this was like a commercial at first, an advertisement.
Nah, I've been trying to listen to some old deep cuts.
Okay. That's why I didn't come in at first. I was like, oh, this is a commercial. What little clever jingle is this? And it's just like, oh, no, this is actually the music we're coming back with. Smooth Soul Monday. My man Patrick always keeping us on our toes, which we appreciate.
Is it funky enough? This is the DLC, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's what it
is. It's the DLC.
I was like, why does it sound familiar?
It's getting funky. It's getting funky. Yeah.
Wow.
Whoop, whoop. Yeah.
Good job. Good catch there, Harsh.
Yeah.
I wonder, I was like, why does it feel nostalgic for some reason? That's weird. I've never heard that song before. I guess I've heard parts of it then, sampled.
Yep.
Let's talk about Ja Morant, gentlemen. So there's no timetable for Ja Morant to return to the Memphis Grizzlies, but people speculate that it's just going to be a short, I don't know what you call it, sabbatical. I don't know. It's not a suspension. I don't know what it's called actually. He's sitting out a few games over. He set out a few games over the weekend in which apparently during an Instagram video, social media video, he brandished a gun while at a nightclub on a live stream. Morant was not with the team in L.A. for the Grizzlies game Sunday against the Clippers. The team will play the Lakers again on Tuesday. It was also said the team's game against the Clippers that Morant had made difficult decisions and poor choices, the team said, that he has to be accountable for. The Grizzlies head coach Taylor Jenkins said, quote, he's definitely embracing the mistakes that he's made, but only time will tell. We're going to support him, and we're going to hold him accountable to make those changes. Morant also, he streamed the video on his Instagram Live, and a screenshot of it kind of circulated around the web and went viral. He later issued an apology. He said, I take full responsibility for my actions last night. I'm sorry to my family, teammates, coaches, fans, partners, the city of Memphis, and the entire Grizzlies organization for letting you down. I'm going to take some time away to get help and work on learning better methods of dealing with stress and my overall well-being. The gun incident is the latest in a string of controversies looming over the superstar point guard. Morant's actions were investigated after a January 29th incident in Memphis that he said led to a friend, Devontae Pack, of his being banned from home games for a year. Morant and Pack also are involved in a civil lawsuit brought after an incident this past summer in which a 17-year-old allegedly said that they assaulted him at Morant's home, which is just bizarre. The Shelby County District Attorney's Office said in January that it was aware of the incident and after careful review of the facts decided there was not enough evidence to proceed with an actual case, but he's going with a civil lawsuit there. All right, gentlemen. So this is the latest issue with Ja Morant. And it's not funny anymore. We were joking about some of the other stuff that was happening to him prior to this incident, but it's not funny anymore. You're talking about one of the superstars of the NBA who seems to be making increasingly risque decisions. And Harge, you talked about this. You talked about it being something that troubled you even before this latest incident.
Is the way he was acting a
behavior.
long time ago. Because, as somebody that has played the game and came from some very unfortunate situations in life, you still sit there and everybody wants to be down, right? I've got, Rod, you're from H-Town, I'm from Killeen. I've got some friends that they are definitely in that lifestyle. Do I talk to them near as much as I used to? Absolutely not. But as I was growing up, they never wanted me to be in anything that would cost me my career, because I was, quote unquote, one of the good ones, right? One of the good guys that was like, man, Harge is going to put us on the map or whatever it may be. Ja Morant, I don't know exactly where he's from. There's a video out there where they're calling him the dude from 8 Mile, Clarence. Clarence got real good parents, you know what I'm saying? And that is what I see when I look at Ja Morant. And the problem that I truly, truly have is his dad, T, not being the one to help him, because he talked about how they put him on. He talked about how he's been by his side. He helped him through all of these troubles. And when they were growing up, he was an underrated recruit. He went to Murray State and blew up. He was on the same AAU basketball team with Zion Williamson. So people are there. He was a late bloomer. But I don't see him as somebody that has always been in the street and all part of the struggle. With all that being said, he is going to get the lifestyle that he's portraying. You know as well as I do, you play like that, it finds you.
Oh, it does.
And the Memphis team right now, they are the most talked about team in a negative way. In a negative way. They got a coach of the year. Jenkins is a hell of a coach. But what do we talk about every single week? Dylan Brooks over there trying to fight somebody, stepping on the court, trying to fight Shannon Sharp.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Thinking that they're all tough guys. When, guys, you are making over $200 million, generational wealth, and you are blowing it because eventually this is going to come back to haunt you in a very, very bad way. What did Jay-Z, perfect example. Jay-Z grew up in the streets. He was part of that life, sold drugs, did everything. But when Jay-Z got better in life, changed the game, he changed the way he lived. Mm-hmm. He cut those people off that were not bringing something positive into their life because you don't live that life anymore. You don't hang out in the streets. You live in a $10 million home, maybe $20 million. Mm-hmm. I don't know. You don't live in that lifestyle. And Jay-Z said it perfectly. People always want me to rap about the stuff like I did in the beginning. I don't live like that. I was telling you my life experiences. Now I'm in a different spot. And Ja wanting to be this thug, be careful what you ask for because some thugs really want to run up on you. And they really want to come after you. Don't pretend, bro. Don't pretend. Because those guys are real in them streets. And they make a living off of that stuff. So as a parent, I would be sitting down with Ja and I'd be like, listen, man, you may lose it all. And not just the money, a life. A life, because you know as well as I do, you show a gun to somebody, you better be ready to pull it.
Yeah.
Because they're going to check you.
Yes, I don't know. It does kind of remind me, I always remember the stories about Tupac and, people know Tupac, Thug Life, that kind of stuff, of course. But Tupac actually didn't get arrested until he started rapping.
Right.
And he
was in art school.
One of the things, the traps he fell into was that he really did start almost like a character actor.
Right.
He started to kind of live the life that he rapped about and that he spoke about, strangely enough. And yeah, a downward spiral. He couldn't stop it.
Yeah.
It was larger than him-himself.
It just became him.
It consumed him.
Yeah, all of it.
Literally. And taking him out. So I'm with you. Like, yeah, you can. Everybody wants to be a gangster, so the texter says here, until, man, the fit hits the stand.
Yeah, until real gangster stuff shows up.
Yeah. So, I don't talk about the Bible a lot, and we don't bring up a lot of Bible verses, especially with Mark Adams and what happened there at Texas Tech. But it's a great Bible verse that says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. I think Ja Morant's there.
I would agree with you 100%, bro.
It's time to put away the childish things, man. Seriously? Trying to be a gangster?
Yeah, this ain't who you are, man.
That ain't who you are, and that's not who you want to be.
You don't need to live that lifestyle.
Only a real gangster will tell you that. You got to meet a real gangster. Harge probably knows a couple. I've known a couple. I'm sure Patrick's come across a few in his time. And real gangsters will tell you, you don't want to be a gangster.
Right.
You don't want that life. They'll tell you, too. The smart ones, the good ones, they'll tell you, oh, you don't want this life, young buck. No, man. And they'll keep you away from it, too, if they're close enough to you. They'll steer you away from it. They'll damn near want to fight you over the fact that you have stepped foot in the life or made some questionable decisions led you to that life.
No doubt about it.
And Ja Morant needs to have more of the OGs around him like that.
No yes men in your corner no more.
Yeah.
You can't have that. Everybody wants to be on, and you got a bunch of hanger-ons. And my man, the late Sean Adams used to always say, if you can't change your friends, change your friends.
Amen, brother.
And I agree with that 100%.
Sound like a father, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
No, it's real. And everybody knows how talented Ja Morant is.
Yeah.
Talking about one of the most talented players on the planet.
Yes.
Yeah. But if you're getting called soft on the court and you need a gun to not be soft on the court, then you don't know what it means to be called soft on the court because it doesn't mean the same thing.
Exactly.
But they're going to make fun of you because you're on the court and they know what bothers you. So you're going to go, oh, man, I ain't soft. I'm hard. And you go, no, you're not. Because we ain't afraid of that. Like, we're all millionaires.
Right.
Yeah. Why are you pulling a gun out? We're millionaires playing basketball. And then you're like, I got friends with guns. You're like, yeah, we all do. But we keep those in private.
Exactly.
Because we're trying to make more of this money.
Come on now.
That's
exactly.
Hey, man, we all get the entourage where we got security.
Exactly.
Everybody's got that the dude likes to fight guy that's on payroll.
Exactly.
We got likes to
And you
fight
know
guy on
what?
payroll.
Hey, you know why that guy's on payroll for that? Because if he goes down, I go, oh man, you know what? I don't, and I could pay his expenses and walk away.
I've
from
already helped him on bail. We already got that set up.
And it ain't me, and I don't lose my shoe deal. And Nike has got to be so mad right now because they dropped Kyrie and picked up John, and they were like, John Morant, you're our guy after Kyrie. And it took 3 months for him to burn it to the ground.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Oh, Nike's got to be. You gotta be
sponsors.
Yeah, John Morant's agent is he's got to be losing his mind right now. He's
Well,
like,
think about his
what
publicist
you doing,
every
man?
single day. That is like, oh.
He's like, he just
What is
he just
happening?
Flashed a gun on Instagram. Why? What happened? Why did he do it? I don't know. We don't know. He
But
just,
look at it. He's smiling while he's holding the gun up.
like-
and it's like
what?
with no shirt on.
I swear, I thought people were doing one of those deep fakes. I was like, that's a deep fake. Somebody just faking. That's not somebody photoshopped
I was trying to look
it.
at his face.
No.
You zooming in to see if that's
That was
really
actually
his
him.
face.
And it's
Yeah.
like,
And
oh,
it's like,
God.
look, man, if you post this stuff at the right time and it doesn't matter because you can post, hey man, I'm going out hunting during the off season, and no one's gonna care that you have a gun to go out hunting.
Exactly.
But if you're like, hey man, the news story just broke that I may have threatened a child with a gun, then I probably shouldn't be flashing guns on Instagram.
Bad move. Dang coaching mistake right there.
And the way he was holding it too was a bad look.
Well, yeah.
Holding it all side like it wasn't even. He didn't even look like he was gripping it.
You definitely have not taken any gun safety courses with the way you held that firearm, John.
Like a Plexico Burrs yourself.
Have you ever held a firearm? Because nobody
Right.
it was a weird way.
Exactly. I'm like, what is he doing? Like you did not pass the concealed handgun license class.
No, you did not. No, you did not, John.
Man, did you take it from your cousin? God. Oh yeah, man. You did good. You did good.
I'm with you. I saw the way he held it. I was like, that's a weird way to hold a gun.
Yeah.
That's why I thought it was fake. I thought it was a piece and chain or
Yeah.
something.
Yes.
Like, no, it was like, I was like, why did he hold it like that? That was weird.
Yeah.
Very strange. Okay.
You could tell we've been around some things. And
Oh,
like
yeah,
both
yeah,
of us are like, why is he holding it like
Yeah.
that?
No, that's that one where you're like, hey Dan, don't put your finger on the trigger. And he's like, okay. And you're like, let me hold it though.
He was he was. I don't know. It was weird. It was
Yeah, it
strange.
was a
It was
bad
strange.
look.
Okay, real quick. Mavs lost to the Suns, 130-126. Once again, they make it a close one. It was a dramatic win for the Suns. 37 points, 21 rebounds by KD. Devin Booker had 36 points. Luka had 34. Kyrie had 30. Guys, they got into it a couple of times. I think Kyrie got into it with Devin Booker, and Luka got into it with Booker, and KD and Kyrie had exchanged some looks across the court. It was a fun game to watch. No Maxi Kleber for the Dallas Mavs, but Phoenix and end up showing you exactly why that KD trade was so dangerous. I mean, they really can beat you in so many different ways now with KD.
Yep.
I mean, it really can.
And if he stays healthy, they are the most dangerous team because Booker seems to be having fun playing basketball. You haven't heard anything bad about DeAndre Ayton when it comes to this team now. When before, during the entire offseason and part of the season at the very beginning, he seemed like he was an disgruntled employee. Now everybody's happy because they're like, we're got a chance to go get this ring.
That's right.
And KD, if he stays healthy, he's a bucket getter. That's all. That dude gets buckets. And Patrick, you brought this up earlier when the trade happened. He also gets rebounds. He plays decent defense. He's not going to.
He's a rim protector. He can be a rim protector.
You can't just go in there and think you finna just dunk on somebody because KD's so long that he's going to stop you when you try to get there. And you add in Ayton there too.
Yeah.
They got two big dudes in the middle, man.
Yeah, and you also have a guy who all reports were as soon as that trade happened, he was in the gym calling practices and stuff to get with this team so that he could start to work with this team and build chemistry with all the guys so that when they hit the floor running.
Yep.
And that was – so you hear that from that side, and you did not hear that from the Mavs side as much. And I'm sure there were practices and they were trying to build them in, But you were hearing, oh, no, they're practicing 10 p.m., 11 p.m. at night.
They want it.
During All-Star Week because they're like, oh, no, we were trying to win a championship. That's why I came here. And that may be a difference why some other teams are not working as well after the trade deadline because they're not trying to build that chemistry and put in the extra work.
Texter, whoever sent us the GIF.
That's outstanding. That's outstanding.
Of Ja be like was pretty damn good. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
nice.
no doubt.
All right, we'll come back. We'll wrap it up. Put in Evan. Let you know what's on tap for the day right here on Ball Don't Lie 104.9 The Horn. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Getting ready to wrap it up and put it in the oven. Before we do, we'll let you know what is on tap. You can go to hornfm.com if you missed any part of any of the shows. You can catch up with them on the podcast page. All right, Harge, what you got? What's on tap for you tonight?
I am going to study the Sam Houston Bearcats as Texas takes them on tomorrow, and I'll be on the airways with my man Craig Way on the call tomorrow night.
Man, you've been busy lately.
I've been very busy.
Came from Frisco this past weekend, and you're doing 2 games with Craig this week, right?
Yes.
Yes. I thought I heard Craig say
Unless Craig is got to be out of town for basketball.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Don't forget about that.
All right. That'll be fun tomorrow. So you'll join us for a little while.
I'll be here for a little while, yeah.
All right, Patrick, what you got on tap?
Ends of series tonight at 8.
Yes. Instant Series tonight at 8. And Soccer Matters.
Glenn Davis.
Also coming up next, we'll talk a little Austin FC on the show.
They got to win.
They did get a dub, baby. That's
and
all
Glenn's
that matters.
Gonna break it down for us.
All right. Thanks to all you guys on the Specs text line. And you have a great evening, too. All of you guys. And Chan. Appreciate that on the Specs text line. Remember, the revolution will not be televised. We'll talk about it right here on Ball Don't Lie. We love you guys. We do mean that. Take care of yourselves, but more importantly, take care of each other. Peace.